And we are back once again with the Library of Mass Destruction. How are you doing, Christopher Sandbatch?
Well, that's like I said, I'm sunburned and I've had like 6 beers and I smell like dead fish because I've just spent the last 3 hours cutting yellowfin tuna up. So I'm doing about as well as anybody ever could be. It's spring in the South and I love everything about it. But for the last 30 seconds or so, because I didn't mute my microphone, I've been like, every time there's like a certain moment in the theme song where I just start headbanging unconsciously. And I was trying to make sure nobody could hear me just going ape shit over here.
The most surprising thing about the intro song that we use here is that Hell March from Command and Conquer Red Alert is not copyrighted on YouTube.
That's wild.
Yeah, this Westwood Studios folded, didn't get acquired, folded, fully abandonware.
Oh wow, that's interesting. The first podcast that I ever had was just like first podcast we ever had was back 2013. No, it was 2014, 2015. We used a Drive-By Trucker song as our theme song, and they sent us a cease and desist letter.
Wow. I mean, yeah, but this is back when you were doing something that caused you to experience some investigatory downsides. Is that not correct?
Yeah, that's how I got an MK Ultra handler.
That's right. They were like, this guy seems like he has few prospects and, could probably be influenced to do something. And then they quickly learned that you're really good company, but you're uninfluenceable.
So this is so true. That's like every time somebody tries to get near me, they're like, yeah, he's fun to hang out with, but I think I've said this before. I've been offered compromat a number of times. Compromat in the form of drugs initially, and then women after that. And I didn't realize it was compromat. I was just like, sure, so we were all taking MDMA at this party or something like. It's like, no, that was supposed to be an embarrassing fact about you that you didn't want disclosed. And I was like, oh, okay.
No, that's my brand, you idiot.
Yes.
You're helping me with market share. The thing is that whenever anyone is like, all of these conservatives, what are they doing hanging out with this libertine degenerate? And it's like, oh, you don't understand. You don't understand. Nobody's a conservative.
Somebody retweeted something.
They're right wingers.
Yeah, exactly. It's what I always say. I'm not a conservative. I am a right winger, but I'm not a conservative. What does that mean? And I'm like, just stick around. You'll figure it out. But like somebody, yeah, that's a good one. Somebody retweeted this today. Oh, let me see if I can find it. I think it was Charlemagne, and like it was like some leftist account or whatever, and it was like, the tweet was like, E-right dudes have the same aesthetics as turbo gay Lithuanian art freaks, and I was like, yeah, it's kind of true when you think about it.
Yeah. I've been to the OGC. I know it's true. Except for not the gay part, as far as I know.
They're the conservative wing too. They're the actual conservative wing. Like my
the OGC. Yeah. There are actual conservatives in the OGC. That's true.
My former podcast host from that other podcast, he texted me today because he listens to the OGC. And he was like, every time I see you hanging out with the OGC guys, I feel like I'm listening to Pat Buchanan and Hunter S. Thompson hang out. And I'm like, yeah, that's kind of what it's like.
Sick.
They were friends. Like, they were actually friends.
I mean, Hunter S. Thompson could chill with just about anyone.
Right. Yeah. Pat, I knew. I mean, I'm sure he's still kind of alive. I've met Pat Buchanan a bunch of times, and he also can just hang out with anybody.
That makes sense. I've met Ron Paul a couple times. And,
very similar.
No, he can't really hang.
He's just a spurg, is what he is.
He's such a sweet old man.
Yeah,
I imagine that guy. I imagine that when Ron Paul was like, I don't know, 6. His favorite candy was Werther's Originals.
Yes,
that's just how it is. You know,
He's like the Benjamin Button baby. Like he comes out old.
That's right. Except he doesn't age in reverse. He's just always old.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, speaking of the OGC thing, you guys talked about the what was it? The reconstructed dire wolves.
Yeah.
Right. And no one mentioned the actual coolest part of that technology, which is not bringing back extinct animals or bringing back the simulation of them or simulacra of them.
Yeah.
It's just in one step genetically domesticating animals that are not domesticated.
Oh, that didn't even occur to me because again, I'm from the South. I used to keep a red fox in my house, and it was
but the thing is,
not very domesticated, but it kind of was.
But no, it was not domesticated at all because domestication is a eugenic program where there is a genetic noticeable change, and that also shows up in the morphology of the animal.
Yeah,
that is associated with sort of let's say affection towards humans, right?
Yeah.
All domestic animals are affectionate towards and comfortable around humans to a much greater degree, obviously, than wild animals.
Okay, that makes sense.
Including feral animals like feral cats or goats or pigeons, right?
Yeah,
are still very comfortable and will seek out interactions with humans.
Right. Yeah, that makes sense. I mean, the fox, it was like a year-long process of convincing the fox to interact with me.
Taming is a different thing that you could do with virtually any intelligent animal. That was such a good, you should have clipped that sound. That was a really good one.
It was a good one, wasn't it?
That was a good can open.
I was holding it as far away from the mic as I could, and but it still got a good one.
The thing is that we know from the Russian silver fox experiment that there are certain predictable changes in the genome, right? And so you could take, like sequence dogs, sequence cats, sequence the silver foxes, change the overlapping areas in other intelligent mammals like raccoons or fucking bears.
See, I went straight to tigers. That was like, oh man.
Oh, you're a furry. You're a furry.
I got a tiger in my house.
Tigers are the gayest coded megafauna. By the way.
Are they?
Easily? Siegfried and Roy.
I went to LSU. I went to LSU. Okay, there's the so I'm turbo tiger coded. My favorite, one of my favorite poems is the tiger. I used to, whenever I was in grad school.
You mean the tiger broke out of his cage? The tiger is out. Yes. Tiger burning bright.
We had a live tiger, and it was, the old one died right before I went to grad school, and a new baby tiger ish. He actually came from the Tiger Man. He was rescued from the Tiger Mans.
Oh, literally.
Rescued.
Literally, from the Tiger. I'm never going to financially recover from this. One.
Yeah. It's not helping the gay coded bit.
It's really not.
But a woman asked me the other night via DM. She said, "Are you straight?" And I was like, "Yes, I'm just from New Orleans." But no. Anyway, I used to go hang out with the cat. And I would eat my lunch. This little tiger would come up and he'd sit with me and everything. And still to this day, every time I go back to LSU for any reason, I go out there and hang out, and he'll come stick his paw up on the glass. It's very cool.
FBI.
I'm like an animal.
Yes. Sandbatch was on Tiger King. He's the guy who lost his arm. He got better though.
No, but you gave me the idea. Actually, because I'm writing 2 books right now. You gave me the idea for one, and it started with I think my next arc needs to be this guy, and it was the other dude from the Tiger King, the one that has the strange harem of women
that
large cats in South Carolina.
Yeah, he's got an entire harem just for taking care of his tigers. I'm not even 100% certain he fucks them.
It's in
But
Myrtle Beach. I've seen it before. Like I've like seen where you turn off the road to get there. It's like such a strange place for that to be. Actually, it's not really. If you've ever been to Myrtle Beach, it makes sense.
never have. I can't say I've ever seen a palmetto in real life.
Oh man, I'm looking at one right now.
Really, I feel like
Yeah.
that might be an insult.
No. Like there's like one. My neighbor across the street has a palmetto in their front yard, and I got the door open. Yeah.
All my sunflowers are starting to come up, and so are my peonies. I'm very excited. But
Sunflowers. I've never had much luck growing sunflowers.
well, you know, that's sounds like a you problem. It's
Yeah, it is.
poverty of spirit, Sandbatch. It's a poverty
Yeah.
of spirit causing sunflowers not to grow for you. I have a bit of a green thumb, I will admit. Big fan. Anyway,
I'm great with peppers. I'm great with peppers.
eh,
Illegal things, roses, but like sunflowers, they rot on me.
tragic. You
Yeah.
got to just go with Jerusalem artichoke. Those things are unkillable. Just try those. All right. Well, I guess we'll get started. We're at our 15 minutes where we really need to dig in.
Yeah.
And so we are back once again. We're gonna clear up. We're gonna go through the death of Jolly West, and I've actually done a little extracurricular reading about the death of Jolly on West. I am reading his son's dreadful memoir. Stylistically, absolute dog shit.
He sends me screen caps from it, and every time I read one, I'm like, you can definitely tell this is someone who's been subjected to the 3Ds.
Oh yeah, like someone who. I mean, I feel like, number one, I feel like his son probably used a ghostwriter to write this, but also I'm pretty sure the ghostwriter must have fucking killed himself after he was done, because it is pap. It is trash. Anyway, all right. Yeah, Lightning NC. That's right. I refuse to believe that Jolly is dead. That's true. It's. I mean, you know, he was merely a man, but he lives on in absolutely everything around you that is controlling the messaging of our society.
Like it just like to burst the bubble on the other, because this one's actually coming along very quickly. I might have it done in a couple of weeks. The story, the other book that I'm writing, not the 3 novellas, is like literally it's about like a research institution outside of Austin that like maybe Jolly West didn't die and he's there, maybe he's not, but he's like set up a factory to like take in women with sleep deprivation disorders and turn them into e-girls.
Amazing. You have Jolly on West's preserved head on a robot body.
Yes.
Doing it.
Yes.
Yeah, I mean he's definitely dead, because he'd be like 98 and he was 6'3" and 350 pounds when he died. And that's with the cancer. So this dude was a fucking truck.
Yeah. That's big. He looked like later in life, he looked like Orson Welles, very similar to Orson Welles.
He looked like Grizzly fucking Adams. Is what he looked like. Yeah, but yeah, he wasn't quite as fat as Orson Welles. Like he never got to Orson Welles does Falstaff.
Yeah.
He was always he looked like a powerful man. You know what I mean? Like you get the impression that it wouldn't have slowed him down.
Mm-hmm.
But in any case, all right, we are. I guess we'll start on the. I'm pretty sure that the highlight is correct after much reworking and trying to find my place, because unfortunately the highlights in this program move every single time I resize the screen. So,
yeah, I remember cutting out on something about El Salvador.
Okay. Today, the direct lineage of the CIA military-funded activities of West and Friends during the Cold War can be seen in the practices now, in part, known to have occurred at Guantanamo Bay, Abu Ghraib, and other black sites used for interrogation and torture in the global war on terror, GWAT. Detainees were, and likely still are, subjected to a wide range of psychological warfare tactics meant to extract information, sometimes undisclosed locations and countries with little to no human rights laws. Either way, they get treated to some of the best interrogation methods that the Special Forces SEER training has to offer. The first of the high-value detainees, Abu Zubaydah, let's just say Zubaydah, Abu Zendaya, was captured in Pakistan and taken to a secret Thai prison where, according to his interrogator, a CIA contractor and SEER psychologist, he was turned into a Hollywood starlet whose eyes are too far apart and whose hair is like a caveman's. Treated like a dog, forced to lie naked in a box, he came to call his tiny coffin for weeks at a time. In combination with other well-documented routine interrogation horrors, he was given what one CIA officer called the Clockwork Orange kind of approach. It worked insofar as he confessed to all manner of horrifying terrorist plots, including plans to blow up American banks, supermarkets, malls, the Statue of Liberty, the Golden Gate Bridge, and nuclear power plants, but was unsuccessful insofar as none of the things he confessed to were true. The old Mazenski trick.
Yeah, I was gonna say, like this doesn't, like, you can tell Jolly is kind of out of the picture here because Jolly wouldn't fuck up. Like, he would get the real stuff.
That's right. Yeah, I mean, there are actual. So I've been slowly gathering all of the materials essentially that are referenced in this book on the mind control programs. And I recently I got some of William Kroger's books, and William Kroger, by the way, was instrumental in several. Okay, so a couple things here. One, this could just be a cover story for illegal spying operations.
I like how we're at the point where you don't believe anything.
But allegedly, he hypnotized some witnesses after an armed robbery and was able to get them to recall correctly the license plate of the getaway vehicle, which was successfully located and directly led to the arrest of the perpetrators.
Yeah, see, that's good. That's good work right there. That's primo work. That's like chthonic womb work right there.
I mean, on the other hand, there also could have been some illegal spying going on, and they needed a pretext to use the information. So they used, I don't know, hypnosis, right?
Right.
Anyway, William Kroger also wrote Psychosomatic Gynecology. I don't know what that's about, but I'm very excited.
We're gonna find out one day. Did you tell him? Did you tell him that and he is he's the person that Kruger from Archer is based on. Did you tell him that your copy of the book was signed by him?
I did. The copy of the book, Hypnosis and Behavior Modification, Imagery Conditioning, which is about implanting hypnotic triggers in images that are seen multiple times so that you have a similar reaction, almost like memes. I mean, I don't feel like I'm really putting anything together for anyone in the audience. I'm sure that was the first thing you thought of when I said that, but everyone will be screaming about it if I don't just point that out. It's basically implanting hypnotic triggers in memes. Anyway, it was like the copy I got was just happened to have been signed by him. So
can you imagine approaching him at a conference and being like, "Sir, will you sign my copy of this?"
He writes in a demonic sigil that causes you to do something. Yeah. Yes. Yeah. Immediately gets you. That's right. So and we can at some future point talk about the overlap between demonology and hypnosis, which is its own thing.
It's a Venn diagram. They're the same picture.
It's the same picture.
You know, as a side note, Isaac Simpson, the disgraced propagandist, he was going on about tarot in the group chat earlier today, and I was cracked up. He's like a total believer in tarot. It's funny.
Rider Waite, like Rider Waite tarot.
Yeah, I'm a Rider-Waite guy personally. Yeah,
I mean, I am as a William Butler Yeats respecter. I and a Golden Dawn enjoyer, I guess I would say, not non-practitioner of. I do not practice magic, but I think that if anyone had their heart in the right place, even if their actions were out of line, it was the Golden Dawn, from which Rider-Waite emerged.
They don't do
So,
anything in New Orleans. I haven't made contact with them in
no,
Austin yet, but
of
they
course
don't do
not.
anything. They don't do anything in New Orleans except sell LSD.
The Golden Dawn was like they were essentially the precursors for like neo-pagans, right? Like they were reconstructing belief systems, and it was like, no, I'm Irish, so I can contact fairies, but you're Welsh, you can't talk to fairies. That's ridiculous.
Right. No, they have a building. They have a building in the Bywater. You know, like like the house I lived in New Orleans was owned by William Burroughs. Aleister Crowley lived down in the Marigny, and like the Hermetic Order of the Golden Dawn. They have a building in the Bywater. It's run by this and there's like this 60-year-old Russian priestess kind of like woman who like is the caretaker there.
Interesting.
Yeah, there's all kinds of shit going on.
The current avatar of Helena Blavatsky.
Yeah, pretty much. I mean, it's like literally it. Yeah.
She was
also my tarot reader. So.
Wonderful.
Yeah.
I mean, I think that Rider-Waite is interesting as an examination of archetypes, and I also think it's possible and plausibly desirable to create one for our own degenerate age. Because I don't think that the archetypes of Rider-Waite are sufficiently up to date any longer.
Interesting. Oh, I have a whole set of notes on this, but let me ask you this: have you ever considered tarot as a prompt to a human LLM?
I have not. I do consider it as a human LLM. I mean, I would consider it the interrogation of archetypes in general. Allows you to, I guess you could say, is tangentially related to prompting. Just like if someone asks you, a question in such a way, you will perhaps consider things in a different way than you did previously. So, yeah. I mean,
the difference is humans we're not autoregressive, so we don't have the same token prediction mechanism.
Yes, I mean, obviously, yeah. So you will always come up with a different answer. Interesting. No, I mean,
back to Jolly West.
Back to Jolly West. Yeah. Okay, let's see. Interrogation and just routine treatment, for that matter, at Guantanamo Bay, Abu Ghraib, and other detention sites includes, but is not limited to, repetitive blasting of obnoxious music and sounds, waterboarding, forced standing, sleep deprivation, beatings, sexual humiliation, and the entire gamut of DDD coercion methods, which, to remind everyone, is debility, dependency, and dread.
Dependency is my favorite one. I love dependency.
Yeah, yes, you do. So you first, the person becomes disabled in some way, typically through one of these methods. Then you mix in these punishments with rewards, so that they will seek your approval, and but you also refuse to be entirely predictable. And so with debility, dependency, and dread, you can make someone completely compliant for a certain period of time. Pretty clearly they can spin out, though. So
and just to like contextualize it, if you've ever dated a woman with serious narcissistic personality disorder, it's very similar to that.
Lightning and C beat you to it, bud.
Yeah, yes.
Yeah. Anyway, DDD coercion methods. While first reported in 2004, only recently has attention focused on other less pleasant practices, including rape of women and children captured with their parents. Reported Seymour Hersh the women were passing messages saying, please come and kill me because of what's happened. Basically, what happened is that those women who were arrested with young boys and children in cases have been recorded. The boys were sodomized with the cameras rolling. The worst about all of them is the soundtrack of the boys shrieking that the government has. They're in total terror. It's going to come out. In 2011, the rape of men was added to the list. Said Cofer Black, head of CIA counterterrorism in 2001. After 9/11, the gloves came off. Were they ever really on?
Oh, sorry. Then that one doesn't do it for me, Wendy. You got to get rid of the parentheticals, bury it a little bit further in the text.
There's actually a really good one. I think it's on it's in this section still, where Wendy has a real zinger. So, in this political environment, psychologists and psychiatrists picked up better paying gigs working as interrogators or interrogation consultants, an activity fully supported by influential professional organizations like the American Psychological Association, the American Psychiatric Association, and the American Psychiatric Association, even if their methods violated the Geneva Convention. This should come as no surprise, given the sordid history of many past APA presidents and high-ranking members' involvement in MK-type research. And really, who better to help disorient newly captured terrorist prisoners? In fact, the APA remains the only group of professionals who have not wholly condemned the use of torture, and in fact have stricter, more specific standards for the treatment of laboratory animals than for human subjects, such as Gitmo detainees. According to psychologist Frank Summers, this is because the APA knows better than to bite the funding hand that feeds them.
Yeah, obvious.
Yeah, right. Of course,
yeah,
it's
APA's got shitloads of money, and they're like they're influential in a very sinister way. And again, again, this is always through the vector of women,
buddy.
Because women,
right now, what is it? 40% of adult women in the United States are on daily psychological medication.
Yeah, it's not even the medicine bothers me.
What the fuck?
Yeah, exactly. It's like, if you're at a moment where 40% of an entire gender is on SSRIs or something like that, and I bet with men, the number's down. I bet it's 5% or something like that.
I bet it's not that different. I bet it's more like 10.
Yeah. But still, such an imbalance is maybe we're suppressing natural behavior here. At 40%, it's there's just too much there. But the thing that I've noticed is that even women that aren't necessarily on these things will just use APA terminology. Even nominally dissident. They just use the terminology. It's a linguistic thing too.
So we live under a condition. I'm gonna talk like a lefty now.
Yeah.
We live under a condition where the psychological framing of the world is the dominant religion of the West. And I'm obviously not the first to mention that people like psychiatrists and psychologists are the priesthood, right? They're the ones who have the pastoral role. And to be fair to them, there are definitely people in therapy and stuff who have real pastoral callings, and it's just a tragic feature of the age we live in that they are not in the priesthood.
Well, right? I have an ex-priest friend who's really into he goes to therapists all the time, but these the one and I've dated two of them. Okay, two psychiatrists and they were.
Well, women can't be priests, so
that's true. Yeah, that's fair. But anyway, both they tend not to be doing cognitive behavioral therapy. Cognitive behavioral therapy is the one that is specifically the dominant sect of the regime religion. You find them doing Jung, people doing the real talking cure and that sort of thing. You'll find those occasionally, and they tend to be the better ones.
Yeah, but the thing is that that is the dominant religion, and women are always the most religious ones.
Yeah.
And it's just that our definition of the category of religion is wrong. It's fundamentally wrong.
I wonder who made it up.
Oh, our category of it was made up by Theosophists. It was our category of religion was made up by Theosophists. They set up, for the Congress of World Religions in 1902 and early 1900s. They had the Congress of World Religions, and they got representatives from all of the religions from which the Blavatsky had said ancient masters were speaking to her from. And so that's Judaism, Christianity, Islam, Hinduism, Jainism, which is like a weird come up for Jainism, by the way, because they're basically like non-existent.
Yeah, it was like invented right then
Baha'i,
and there.
No. Jainism.
No,
is
Baha'i is the one that just
was the contemporary one. Yeah. Anyway, so you have all of these religions, and they have their own fucking logos, right? Like they literally have logos. It's like, oh well, obviously the Catholics have Christians have the cross, right? Because the Christians actually had the cross, and Muslims actually used the crescent. But none of the other ones just had a go-to symbol. So they had to be made. They had to be made.
The Jews specifically aren't supposed to have one, like it's like that's a graven image.
And like I don't know, like whenever you think of what's the symbol they use for Buddhism, it's like a prayer wheel that's used in like one very specific sect of Buddhism. Like the prayer wheel's not even a fucking thing in most. And it's anyway. The thing is that completely changed the conception of religion in the West, the theosophical movement in general, and they were really fundamentally they were incredibly important in first actually inventing atheistic Buddhism, and then spreading the idea that Eastern religions are more scientific than Western religions in the West. Right, which is why you have which is why now you have mindfulness-based practices being sold as secular medicine, even though they are explicitly Buddhist.
Right. It's also where in the world of poetry, my current favorite poetic movement, imagism, came from, which is straight out of that same Orientalism.
Yep. Anyway, Theosophists are very interesting. Understood, right? Like most people don't even know they exist, so they're not even misunderstood. But they were hugely influential. And I wish I had gone to the University of Chicago because that was sort of their strongest soldier. So I would know more about them. Anyway,
I told you one of my initiatory things happened whenever I got whisked off to the University of Chicago for a conference one time.
Oh, really?
That was when I got hooked up with AI and the Internet of Things and that sort of thing. It was at Oregon Labs conference.
I honestly think that all of that isn't even necessarily theosophical in nature. I think that's really Mircea Eliade.
Yeah,
I think that owes a lot to Mircea Eliade, who also was at University of Chicago, by the way.
Yeah. So was Richard Weaver.
Oh yeah.
All right, you go ahead. I'll be right back.
All right. In any case, let's see. Got to go back to where I am. Gitmo detainees. Great. That's right. According to psychologist Frank Summers, this is because the APA knows better than to bite the funding hand that feeds them. Their dependency on the military and defense establishment for the funding and therefore the growth of their field leads to a blind loyalty, and the defense and justification of abusive interrogation practices and professional penalization of those who speak out against this policy. Indeed, wrote Michael Welch, a professor of criminology at Rutgers University, the genealogy of modern torture reveals that its theoretical foundations strongly depend on behavioral and psychological research of the type that highly respected members of the American Psychological and Psychiatric Associations who oversee and administer it are well acquainted with. Not just that, but abuse of psychological and psychiatric methods that originate with and are first contained within the military have a way of seeping into and becoming institutionalized by the broader fields as practiced in civilian realms.
See, this is like where it gets complicated, because it's like I'm always like, how much do they know about, like, how actually complicit are the people who are not even complicit, you know?
What do you mean?
Well, it's like, okay, yeah, this is like, there came a point where, like, you know, the brain gets cracked open, and pretty much anybody, if you went to a university today and did 2 years of psychological specialization, you would be able to go home and do the triple Ds on anybody. If you were if you like had any critical,
if you're a lucky man, you go
capacity.
home and get the triple Ds done to you every night. That was almost a rim. That opening that can was almost a rim shot. That was really good timing.
You know, they're seltzers, and they tend to open. They tend to open better. They make
crisp.
They make a more satisfying sound.
I'm drinking iced tea, unsweet, obviously, as a Yankee.
I've been in Texas. They don't. This is like, I even say this sometimes. I'm like, we're not in the South anymore because they don't really do sweet tea in Austin. This is like the limit. Like about half the places do. Like if black people run it, they're still going to be doing sweet tea. If any other race runs the restaurant, there's not tea's not going to be sweet.
Sweet tea is fucking vile. I'm gonna just say that. It's cloying. It's like weirdly viscous whenever a black person makes it. It's really just fucking disgusting.
I mean, yeah, it's like when they do it, it's almost gelatinized with the amount of sugar is fascinating. It'll be like a third of the pitcher whenever it's like, you just be like, whoa.
Yeah, it's like a bag in a box. like a fountain drink system, except you just drink the shit over ice.
Yes.
Anyway, not long after the global war on terror began, the Defense Department called on inconvenient eyewitness hypnotist, Dr. Michael Gellis, and his military team of non-clinical psychologists, NCIS, to form a behavioral science consultation team to establish rapport with detainees. Apparently, this was supposed to curtain potential and ongoing abuses while still extracting valuable information. Gellis trained interrogators and in some instances assisted in interrogations at Gitmo and other sites where reversed seer techniques were used against POWs. He would later note that even after it became clear that abusive seer methods were too costly in the court of public opinion, it was hard to put the brakes on. For some, it was too easy and too addicting to brutalize other people. The problem, explained Gellis, was that once you take the dogs off the leash, you can't put them back on. You got to put a human on the leash. And also the problem is that they used women as interrogators, which...
oh, man.
Yeah, that's what happened at Abu Ghraib. That's what's in our thumbnail this week. The female torturers at Abu Ghraib. Yeah, females are fucking terrifying.
I bet that was nasty.
Well, yeah, I mean, they had naked man piles and like weird, like, you know, the picture of the person with the black hood on and the smock, you know, in a cruciform pose, like just crazy bonkers shit went on at Abu Ghraib. To no good effect.
Yeah, like nothing was extracted.
Yeah, nothing of value is extracted. So, in a 2003 essay co-authored by Gellis, he argued that it is ridiculous to expect psychologists and other mental health experts working in national security fields to follow ethical guidelines expected of others in their profession. Gellis himself has made it clear that he does not believe that psychologists participating in these scenarios should be sanctioned by a court of law or by professional associations like the APA. Rather, he says he believes in an accounting of history, not an accountability of individuals.
So there's a reading there where he says they need special ecclesiastical courts.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, not an accountability of individuals. I don't want anyone specifically to be punished for this, but history can condemn the practices if we lose. That's what he's saying. It's very he's deep in the Schmidt pit.
Yeah, this I will say this occasionally. Like for years and years and years, I've pointed out that because like people like Curtis will like dig Carl Schmidt up like they found him on the bottom of an elephant like pile of elephant bones or something like that. I'm like, Carl Schmidt is probably the most influential juror on the entire neoliberal like state apparatus. Like, you know, he's probably the most important one.
Yeah. Well, but I mean, and the thing is, there is. Yeah, I'm gonna literally advocate for Lucifer himself here and say, yeah, you know, probably psychologists working in a military setting like that should not be under the same ethical guidelines as one you know, hire to help you deal with the death of your parent or something. You know
Yeah.
what I'm saying? Like, those actually are really dissimilar circumstances. So now, as for whether individuals should not be accountable for their actions, I'm going to come down on the other side of that one. But after representing Timothy McVey, attorney Randy Coyne went on to represent, among others, a handful of GWAT POWs, including at least one high-value detainee, and detailed the problematic nature of representing so-called terrorists within the Orwellian labyrinth of security rules that renders any attempt to do so a nearly impossible ordeal. The majority of inmates, he said, had never committed known hostile acts against the U.S., or anyone else for that matter, unless fleeing from American forces qualifies as a hostile act. Well, why were you running?
Yeah.
Why were you running from the Predator drone if you didn't do anything wrong? Why were you running from the catch team if you didn't do anything wrong?
But dude, I mean, I remember like during the war, like the heyday of the war on terror, that was the default conservative positions. Like, you know, it's like, well, what were you doing? What were you doing running from the police? You know, it's like, well, you know, it's a good point. You know, but well, it's like, well, what, if you don't have anything to hide, then why won't you answer these questions, boy? You know, it's like,
yeah.
Oh,
yeah. Yeah, and then, you know, and then you come and then you horseshoe theory, and then you're like, is this right or wrong? And then you say, well, I don't know, what color are they?
Yeah, that's I was trying to avoid that.
For his part, McVey's favorite head shrinker and Dr. Jolly West's pupil, Dr. John Smith, having closed his private practices in Oklahoma City in 2004, took a position at Fort Bragg, where he helped soldiers returning from Iraq and Afghanistan work through some of the issues they developed there. In 2008, Smith began to appear at academic conferences and in news articles to discuss the psychological impact of being a guard at Guantanamo prison, which he called an overlooked group of victims. His case study concerned a guard who developed such severe PTSD. Guards most affected. Yeah. Let's see. An overlooked group of victims. His case study concerned a guard who developed such severe PTSD that two other psychiatrists gave up on him and referred him to Smith. Apparently, detainees brutalized the guard. Smith said the prisoners threw feces and urine on him, mocked him, and even had the audacity to try and pressure the guard into sneaking out letters to their families. This type of behavior left the guard confused and terrified. He did, Smith acknowledged, participate in their torturous interrogations, but the sessions only resulted in the detainees' psychotic reactions, bizarre screaming and crying, leaving the poor guard all the more stressed out, causing him to cry as well.
See, that's the thing. The 3Ds are a double-edged sword.
Yeah, you got to do the dependency part. You can't just do debility and dread.
Yeah, exactly. Like the dependency part creates pairings.
It's the glue that holds the D's together.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh man. It's like kind of like how like dolphin trainers will they go fucking nuts when their dolphins die.
I mean, yeah. I mean, that's also their sexual partner. Let's be real.
I could just set these up for you. You could just do all the spiking.
No. Hey, you know what? Yeah, that's fine. I don't often. I'm normally playing the straight man. So because my other co-hosts are Mike, Gabe, and Hudson. So
right.
And I'm the straightest one out of those. That's for sure. Am I right, ladies? Yeah.
Uh-huh.
Yeah. Speaking of, Let's do the super chat from Tookie's Mag collaborator Gabe. What's Sandbatch's stance on Pound as a poet? Gabe, that's not what this show's about. Why are we?
I'll answer you real quick, and then I'll
Yeah.
talk more about it later somewhere else. I did not much like Ezra Pound as a poet until about 3 months ago, and then something happened to me, and I was like, "Fuck, this guy's been incredible this whole time." And I learned about T.S. Eliot, Ezra Pound, and William Butler Yeats all at once in a course entitled, curiously, Yeats, Eliot, and Pound. And the whole way through that course, I didn't really like Ezra Pound that much. And then like 3 months ago, boom, I was like, this guy is fucking incredible. Okay, so yeah, that's a short answer.
Ezra pounded in the ass by the awareness of poetic genius. Yeah, that's right. Chuck Tingle, a new Chuck Tingle poetry anthology. Let's see. After treating this guard, an influx of others sought out Smith's services. Lucky for the guards, in January 2009, President Obama promised to close Gitmo and other CIA black sites within a year, announcing, "I can say without exception or equivocation that the United States will not torture." As discussed earlier, he did not keep that fucking promise.
It's like the promise was being broken as he spoke it.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. As discussed earlier, drones are more effective when dealing with known terrorists. As of December 2015, the detainees remain at Gitmo. It seems nobody really knows what to do with them. Certainly, they can't just be allowed to walk out around willy-nilly after so many years of abuse.
That's a good
he's made a
That's
bunch
a good
of
one, Wendy.
yeah. All willy-nilly. Son of Haster, 07, salute. Thank you for the $2. Speaking of violence, love it. In the years after the center closed, West bravely continued his strange career as a researcher, media commentator, and government-appointed expert. In the 1980s, besides his never-realized plans of opening a torture victim center at UCLA, West spoke at a torture victim center at UCLA. Just don't worry about like what direction or order the torture victimization is happening.
Yeah, it's like you go straight from the torture center at UCLA into the center for torture victims.
Yeah, it's like calling the suicide hotline and it's just instructions. West spoke at and chaired exclusive American Psychiatric Association conference sessions, where he expounded upon such topics as multiple personality, diagnosis and treatment, and terrorism and group influence, the psychodynamics of terrorism. He ended up acting as the chair of the APA's task force on terrorism, whatever that entails. He then set about pissing off Scientologists with all his talk about cults and self-professed victims of child sexual abuse and implanted false memories.
Now, it's also worth pointing out, because I don't know if the audience skews more Zoomer or millennial. If you're a millennial, so if you're a war on terror, this is within the framework of your adulthood. So this guy who started torturing people in 1952, we were voting at the point where this guy is now doing this shit. Like, this is a long career.
Yeah, he's a very busy man. Like his career is longer than I have been alive, even now. And he died in 1999. So, yeah, sadly, I mean, the saddest thing is that he never got to exist in the global war on terror.
It would have been, God.
Can you imagine what Jolly West could have done if given Guantanamo Bay?
Just imagine him in there hooked up like the Emperor from 40K, just like sending impulse signals to the guards.
Oh my God. Yeah. 100%. We would have had fucking weird ass cyborgs. It would have been incredible. The entire Middle East would have been glassed if Jolly on West had gotten control of those guys. When he died, Jolly on West dying also perfectly coincided with the end of serial killers.
Yes, yeah.
It's just he dies and we run out of serial killers. What is going on? He's the fucking master mold. Let's see. In 1994, West was one of a handful of experts appointed by Congress to the Institute of Medicine Committee to review the health consequences of service during the Gulf War. A good fit, given the experimental nature of the war itself. The next year, he got a call from the Jones team about their dissociated patient, Tim McVey, dejected about the conditions of his confinement and for some reason unable to remember a whole slew of important things. There's probably no better person to consult. Maybe I've gotten West all wrong. Here's Wendy really like. Maybe I've gotten West all wrong. A psychiatric textbook dedicated to his career, written by close colleagues and students of his, praise him. He was a driving force in our profession, an implacable foe of every form of discrimination, not one to be tainted by all the sleaze and corruption that appears to have affected the American society at many different levels. A shining example of the profession. A true light in the darkness, despite all those false charges that he was an operative of the Central Intelligence Agency. The only time the agency is listed in the book.
Damn.
Perhaps not surprising, then, were the psychiatric and psychological professional societies glowing obituaries of Dr. West. Upon his death in 1999, they honored him for his contributions to research and clinical practice that included, among others, a better understanding of the effects of inhumane acts, societal violence, sleep deprivation, mind-altering hallucinogenic drugs, hallucinations in general, hypnosis, suggestibility, pain perception, and dissociative states and dreams. He was, we are told, the outline of an American success story, who, guided by egalitarian principles, battled ceaselessly for individual freedom and dignity, opposing prejudice, bias, bigotry, violence, torture, and the subjugation, punishment, and mistreatment of others by governments. He took the side of the poor, minorities, children, the disenfranchised, the mentally ill, the uneducated, and the weak. Where else was he going to get his test subjects? A memorial fund in his name was established, as was the Award for Excellence in Psychiatry. Did anybody besides the hippies even read his center proposal? Newspaper articles did at least note that he was, in fact, an expert on cults, torture, and brainwashing, said one colleague. Above all, Jolly was a colorful figure, an alive person who loved being on stage. What an odd thing to say about a dead man. An alive person. Why would you say that?
Oh, man.
Real quick before we continue, Son of Haster got to reveal the existence of Chuck Tingle to a chapter member after a recent OGC event. I don't think he's forgiven me, as he should not. As he should not.
I know Micah Polk still barely talks to me since he came on this show one time and listened to me talk.
this particular episode probably would end that poor man. He is a gentle soul. I think that Mike got too comfortable with me just riffing on movies and not talking about the.
He's been taking Thursday off. You know,
yeah, that's right. He just goes. He looks at the clock and he's like, "LMD starts at 7. I better be to sleep by 6:30." West appears in many pivotal landmark episodes in American history, real, imagined, or just alleged. Here is West at POW brainwashing camps, at black sites, conducting experiments on U.S. soldiers, handling America's most notoriously legendary assassins and patsies, terrorists and spies, with cults who brainwash soon-to-be dead congregants, including Jonestown, Waco, and Heaven's Gate, fighting those who might implant false memories or alternately implanting false memories himself. Here is West, hobnobbing with America's foremost mind-controlled, hypno-programmed, amnesiac sex slaves. My FOIA requests about West, meant to help clarify fact from legend, have been unsuccessful. It turns out that many government records about him were destroyed in a fire. Nothing like a fire.
Like a fire. That's a good one, Wendy.
Thank you, Wendy. Nothing like a fire. Despite all...
I have friends that they get really into they're like, yeah, we're gonna get all the JFK releases. I'm like, dude, that shit was burned decades ago.
No shit. Why would they keep around any of the juicy shit? I mean, honestly, sheer volume of it, right? I don't know, maybe something will end up in there, right? Maybe.
Yeah, there's like something that somebody missed. But I bet if you suggested to run it all through an LLM, I bet they would be like, well, we actually need to make sure this is done by hand in case, like hallucinations and that sort of thing. Like, yeah, sure, whatever.
Well, didn't the JFK files get run through Grok?
Allegedly.
I
don't trust Grok either. That's the thing.
Right.
Ooh, man.
Right.
No, oh my God. No, I have a project that have to be finished by tomorrow. I was gonna be like, I have a model that's obliterated, and that might be fun, but it'll have to wait for another week.
Lighting NC. Why would they even write it down in the first place? Is you taking notes on a criminal fucking conspiracy? Yeah,
they do. They do.
They do write that shit down. To be real, they love their paperwork.
And well, they're very good at continuity also. So like they're like information is compartmentalized in some ways and not compartmentalized in other ways. And you do like this is like the weak link of this kind of information transfer system is it does in fact need a medium.
Yeah, absolutely. Let's see here. Despite all the humanitarian rhetoric of West and other officials about predicting and preventing violence and monitoring those who did or would perhaps someday act violently, West's proposed Center for the Study and Reduction of Violence was, in actuality, in the words of one headline, a dystopic chamber of horrors, a rather racist one at that. Maybe I'm coming around. West Center was a nightmare of epic proportions, but there was a method to his madness. Rebecca Lamov described West's ultimate goal as access to total knowledge. He spoke of the building of a massive databank of consciousness itself, of the slaughtering of the red heifer, which would consist of bioelectrical recordings gathered through electromyography, electrooculography, renioencephalography, and CAT scans, subsequently analyzed and coded, then stored in a centralized location such as the National Institute of Mental Health or the National Medical Library. The dreams of knowledge and power that fueled human engineering for decades were propelled forward.
How many of you all have a fitness app on your phone in your pocket right now?
I mean, honestly, wait until you can get a heads-up display from your fucking Neuralink. You know, people will literally have heads-up displays with like heart rate monitoring and all that other crap, right? Lightning NC with the big questions. Okay, but what's scanning a cat gonna do?
It's a good question.
So true, King. So true, King. Dog scans more relevant. Joe, cheers from Boston. Joe Kennedy in the chat. Southie piece of trash. These fucking Irishmen. Let's see here. West tends to be remembered either as a bold yet benevolent pioneer and progressive humanitarian who sought to liberate mankind, or a shadowy, malevolent, clandestine operator and pioneer of some of the most frightening types of invisible chains meant to control and enslave humankind. In this more disturbing depiction, he becomes the mad scientist who implanted a chip into McVey's head or rear end, depending.
¿Por qué no los dos?
Yeah. I think that okay, so I'm gonna tell you some stuff about Jolly West. I'm gonna
now that we got some white space here,
Yeah, I'm gonna give this to the audience. I'm reading what is it? I gotta look up the name. It's the last Good Nights. The Last Good Nights, which if you Google it, will immediately get you "Are you considering suicide?" warning on Google. Like it will literally say, "There's help available," because The Last Good Nights, assisting my parents with their suicides, was a book written by John West, Jolyon West's only son, about first killing his father and then killing his mother. And Jolly West had horrible cancer, allegedly, I assume he had a massive case of leukemia, not something anyone would want. And his mother had progressive Alzheimer's.
Yeah.
They essentially wanted, they both independently asked him to help kill them. First, Jolly West died in 1999, and I believe that John West killed his mother in 2000, at the beginning of
How does
2001.
he get away with writing this book?
Really good question, isn't it? Because it's illegal, right?
Yeah.
So he was an attorney, and there are several sections in the book, and I was sharing some little snippets, some little choice bits with Sandbatch in the DMs, and he there are whole sections where he recounts a conversation, and the conversation is basically like, well, Mom, you don't want to kill yourself, do you? I want you around as long as possible. And he's like, I want to make sure you're of sound mind, and and you don't want to go until you're absolutely sure that you don't have quality of life. And it's just like, playing out like a court argument, like it's actually a syllogism. It's like they're syllogistic arguments. It is so transparently horseshit. John West went on like an NPR tour. Like, there are NPR interviews with him. He started an organization called the Last Good Nights Organization to pass laws allowing people to kill themselves. But there was also, but this book doesn't mention anything about Jolyon West being a fucking spook at all. It just says he was like the head of psychology at UCLA. It was like, that's like,
it's kind of admitting to being a spook, but yeah, the normies don't know that.
Yeah. But there's also, but also this book is really poorly fucking written. I'm going to put on my true Tookies hat here. And,
well, I mean, like, if you have to redact half of what actually happened, it's
right,
like,
exactly. No, but it's also just like there's like laugh lines at the end of all of this shit. So, like, for example, I became a quick study and expert in the intricacies of the medical supply industry and other bureaucratic, another term I've coined, matters related to getting a sick person home from the hospital.
It's so boomerific.
It's super boomerific. Like, it's like saying demon rats instead of Democrats. It's like the stupid. It's like, and he literally put it in italics. It's awful. But there's also several things in here where it says that Jolyon West killed his mother-in-law, and was supposed to kill his mom, but died first because of the cancer.
Right. I mean, he's already dead, so I mean, he can really get away with just about fucking anything. The issue is that, like, this guy writes this book, and, like, I understand that, okay, the APA, because there's, like, of course, the APA is like full of people who are like absolutely on board with this. Like, anybody who says I want to kill myself, there should be a booth right down the, like sure, yeah, go ahead, kill yourself. They're down for it, okay. But still, like, without legitimately high level cooperation, the fact, I mean, he's like signing a document that says he committed premeditated murder,
You should be able to kill yourself if you're like white and straight, but if you are or might be a tranny, then we should move heaven and fucking earth to make sure that you don't kill yourself.
Yes.
That's just by the way.
Wait a minute.
It's completely rational to want to die under these sets of circumstances, but under the set of circumstance where you feel like you live in an alien body, you're not crazy, and you shouldn't kill yourself. You should change your body to be whatever the fuck.
You receive affirmation, acceptance,
Yeah. And backlash if you decide that's not what you want anymore. Anyway, that's not what this book is about. But it also does have some other crazy stuff in here. For example, apparently Jolly West had a incredible number of affairs, just a truly unbelievable number of affairs. And there is
I'm guessing it's hundreds.
Yeah, I mean, you know, if you could just hypnotize a co-ed, just, you know.
And like frequently the co-eds that you have available, they've come to you seeking out hypnosis or are being coerced into hypnosis.
Right,
so like
right.
you've just plenty of opportunities here.
Here's one that I will treat you to. Kay, that was Jolyon West's widow. Remembered a great story she'd like to tell about how this woman had appeared at Kay's office one day and insisted that Kay give Jolly up. Why wouldn't Kay give Jolly a divorce? The woman had demanded. Also, this is the voice of the authorial voice of John West, who refers to his parents as his mom as Kay and his dad as Jolly, not as mom and dad.
Right.
Like, which is like very shit-libby and untrustworthy way to talk about your parents.
Yeah.
That probably has a way higher correlation with suicide risk, by the way, referring to your parents by their first names.
Man, I bet that's true.
It's probably an unbelievably high. Why wouldn't Kay give Jolly a divorce? The woman had demanded. Kay had smiled patiently at her and replied, because he hasn't asked me for one. And besides, what makes you think you're any different from all the others? Needless to say, the woman fled.
That's cold.
So she was.
But it's like, yeah, she's complicit here, or at least triple D'd.
Oh yeah, no, I mean, you know, what we would say a cuck queen. She's probably into Jolly West plowing all the young coon. But
he comes home to me.
He comes home to me.
Yeah.
And kills him and convinces my child to kill him. Anyway. Yeah, that's the what the fuck? Owen Zaleski. K or Mac, fellas? I'm not sure what that means.
Who is Mac?
Are you talking about
McVey? Mac?
Oh, Mickey McVey, maybe. Mickey McVey's Moose Hangers.
Yeah.
I'm gonna say Mickey McVey because she was a party slut rather than the concubine of.
Hold on, I gotta look something up here. Oh, she was also a psychologist.
Yes, she was. She sure was.
No pictures available. Interesting.
There is one. Actually, she looked a lot like Ursula Le Guin.
Oh my god! You know my answer then.
Yeah. Yes. Yeah.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah.
There is a photo of them on the. I'll send it to you later. There's a photo of them on the back of the book. And Jolyon West is looking very much like Grizzly Adams, by the way. Big size difference here. She was definitely into, the big man. But anyway, the book is fucking terrible. I'll probably finish it tomorrow or something. And
throw it away.
It's just my never. I'll put it in the West collection. So, all right. Part 4, Calspan, Rise of the Robots and the Database That Could. Man, Wendy is gonna have a field day when she writes her next book. And
I was gonna say,
AI.
I wonder what Wendy and 30 Minutes with Me would turn into. Because
isn't she a little old to marry?
Well, I don't know. I'm not gonna say anything about Mary. We're just gonna talk about the database that could.
Yeah. Okay.
Whatever else happens. But
matrimonious. I'm just letting you know.
Yeah.
There will come a time when it isn't they're spying on me through my phone anymore. Eventually, it will be my phone is spying on me. Philip K. Dick, the mid-'70s. actually was getting real information from a satellite, wasn't even epileptic or schizophrenic, an actual prophet. We monitor many frequencies. We listen always. Came a voice out of the babble of tongues speaking to us. It played us a mighty dub. William Gibson, Neuromancer, 1984. Most people do not read enough Gibson. He's still writing. He's still writing, and he's still good.
I was about to ask you how big of a William Gibson fan are you, and I was gonna be like, is it like it's somewhere between 9.5 and 10? I'm guessing.
I'm such a William Gibson fan that I even like the Johnny Mnemonic film. Like, yeah. And I every single time someone mentions like weird music to me, I'm always like, have you ever heard of Christian White and his Aryan reggae band? Anyway, brainwashing became a term applied to every circumstance in which one person was influenced by others to change his behavior or thinking. And when a word comes to mean too much, it loses what value it may have had. Brainwashing isn't a term I use myself, except in order to dismiss it and then focus on what really happened. Dr. Lewis Jolyon West.
It's like, you know how, like,
this is the narcissism of small differences. This is an expert. Yeah,
I know exactly how this was delivered too. So, like, you know, then he goes, he does the first two lines right there. Brainwashing became a term applied to every circumstance in which one was influenced by others to change his behavior or thinking. And when word comes down to mean too much, it loses what value it may have had. And then the camera angle changes and his tone changes to, brainwashing isn't a term I use myself, except in order to dismiss it and then focus on what really happened. You know, it's exactly how it goes.
Actually, it's like the camera angle would be awesome if it was like, if he was like in an easy chair, like one elbow hanging over, both of his hands folded on top of each other. Yeah, he like turns over his shoulder and he says, "Brainwashing isn't a term I use myself."
That's exactly what I was.
That's right. Exactly that's right. It. Sort of half out of his, you know, in a half smirk,
smoking a briar pipe. Now all of a sudden, like triggering everyone's memories of their dad in the 1950s. And, you know, like, fuck.
Oh yeah, exactly. Like, man, I gotta get a pipe for the OGC so that I can jolly on West everyone. After World War II, an increasing number of fictional and non-fictional conspiracy narratives emerged, many of them displaying what cultural theorist Timothy Melly termed agency panic, an intense anxiety about the apparent loss of autonomy or self-control. The first two major defining features of agency panic is an uncertainty about the cause of individual actions, sometimes manifesting in suspicions that external forces are controlling programming or brainwashing the will of oneself or others. The second concerns the motive and means of the external controlling forces themselves, who are often identified as large and often vague organizations on whose behalf the faceless controllers operate. Sandbatch, I'm getting a little feedback from you.
Yeah. No. I had my restless leg syndrome. You got really close to my activation phrase.
What's your activation phrase?
I can't say it.
I'll be activated.
Yeah, you'll have to. Everybody have to deal with worse than feedback.
It's
gone now, though, isn't it?
Yeah. I think it's gone. No, it's not actually. I can hear myself again.
Ooh, hold on.
There you go. Now he's muted. The panic itself results in part from a sense that one is not in control and an inability to glean more specific information about the ubiquitous them. Agency panic is not a psychiatric diagnosis, however, but a cultural condition, an affliction of the masses born from the technological and political realities or potentialities. Both admittedly fictional and purportedly non-fictional stories about mind control display linear shifts and changes that parallel the development and use of technologies of control and attempt to give voice to difficult, perhaps even impossible to voice, cultural anxieties about real-world conditions. The most famous of these fictions is Robert Condon's 1979 novel, The Manchurian Candidate, which tells the story of Raymond Shaw, an American GI captured by communists during the Korean War. Held as a POW, Shaw's brainwashed through DDD and Pavlovian conditioning to act as a sleeper assassin, unaware of the manipulations of his controllers and the triggers implanted within him that can call him into action. Only at the end do we learn that Shaw's mother, the wife of a powerful, high-profile right-wing politician modeled after Joseph McCarthy, essentially sanctioned Shaw's brainwash as a means of realizing her own political aspirations.
Now,
typical women. That's what's happening to Sandbatch.
Yeah, that is one of my favorite. It's one of my favorite novels ever. I fucking love The Manchurian Candidate.
Also famously portrayed by Raymond Shaw, famously portrayed by Frank Sinatra, right?
Yes.
Old Blue. Was he Old Blue? Yeah, he was Old Blue Eyes. That's right. I almost thought Bing Crosby was Old Blue Eyes, but it's no.
No, Bing Crosby was the one that smoked a pipe.
That's right. Yeah, no, I mean, I definitely remember Bing Crosby. I just wasn't sure who had that nickname because they both were rocking the A10s. So, let's see here. Yeah. Why does it sound like Sandbatch is trying to drunkenly seduce his microphone right now?
Because I turned the gain down and got closer to it to try to kill the feedback.
Just really get up in there.
Yeah,
just
no, is this better? Can y'all still hear me?
Yeah, that's perfect.
Okay, yeah.
Just get up in
when
there.
When I do this with the Swampist, he like sticks the microphone all the way almost into my mouth. If I almost like to do it remotely with him more because like whenever we do it in person, he's got like an absurdly powerful podcast setup.
Okay.
And like it's like, you know, they've got the microphones that come down from the ceiling and they like he like sticks it right in your face. So like now
he's got a fucking boom mic.
Yeah,
like the size of a cat.
It's not that big, but like yeah, and he's got like plosive filters and it's like the setup is complicated enough. We've had to deal with emergent behavior before.
Interesting. I just have a Shure SM7 and a DLZ Creator mixer, so that's fairly straightforward, but good equipment. Let's see. And you are talking through a $5 lapel mic, and it's almost as good.
It's like a Blue Yeti I bought like 10 years ago.
Okay. Well, USB mic, nice.
Yeah.
Let's see. For some, the novel represents McCarthy-era fears of communism and the U.S. government's response to it, cultural anxieties. But as others have pointed out, the U.S. government's fomenting of this fear acted itself as a strange fiction, strategic fiction, that, among other things, shielded their own development of advanced mind control methods and technologies, and the testing and use of these on U.S. citizens. Mm-hmm. This Cold War duplicity had the effect of dissociating the public's knowledge of the state from its actual workings, replacing fact and history with implanted screen memories and skewed perceptions. While it would be decades before the public had an inkling of the actual scope of such activities, the novel and its 1962 film adaptation of the same name went on to inspire many other works of fiction about mind control, as well as narratives about the actual brainwashing of real assassins, including Lee Harvey Oswald.
That's a good one, Wendy. It took a second for that one to hit me. That was a delayed action.
Real is in scare quotes here. Real assassins. Yeah. Yeah.
God, can you imagine? Like he said, Cold War duplicity had the effect of dissociating the public's knowledge of the state from its actual workings, replacing fact and history with implanted screen memories and skewed perceptions. Welcome to Library of Mass Destruction.
Welcome to Library of Mass Destruction. I mean, actually, I kind of want to rework the intro to be a little more like Rod Serling.
Yeah,
Rod Serling Twilight Zone. I might crib some of that for it. Also, unrelated to everything she just said, how about World War II? Anyone have any opinions about constantly making movies about a certain event in the 40s?
Right.
Maybe one that was only tangentially related to the conflict itself, and if it occurred, only included people who weren't even citizens of this country.
Curtis had a great tweet today, and I guess that's him. I guess it really is him using that Twitter account or whatever. Where he's like, he said there is extensive evidence that the Holocaust occurred, so on and so forth. Because he does that thing, but he goes, but the Holocaust is not why the United States entered World War II, which was to prevent a German plan to take over the entire world. And there is, in fact, no evidence of a German plan to take over the entire world. And I was like, huh, that was a good one.
Right. Well, I mean, I'm not quite as much of a skeptic on the helicopter as some folks in our sphere are. Like, I think there were definitely camps, and if you have someone held under your sway, you're kind of responsible for whatever happens to them, even if that is typhus. So,
yeah. I mean, my MK Ultra training is as a historian.
Yeah,
and like I went to grad school as a historian, and like. This is I subscribe to a theory of life that I call the jazz theory of life, which is that you can play out of tune one note every now and then, but you need to really time your out of tune notes really well.
You need to pick which ones those are. Yeah.
And as a historian, I focused especially on the antebellum South and on antebellum slavery and that sort of thing. And I was like, okay, I'm going to let that be my sour note. And then I'm just going to like lean into whatever the current academic literature says. And the only thing I'll tell you is if you want to see some interesting revisions to the Holocaust narrative, look at recent academic scholarship about it.
Yes. Just speculating. That's all. Anyway, Lee Dayton's 1962 novel, The IP Crest File, and its 1965 film adaptation by the same name. I'm going to just say it's probably Ipcris, and I fucked that up. Tells the story of a covert intelligence officer brainwashed through induction of psychoneurosis by conditioned reflex under stress, a process that employs a combination of West DDD and Ewan Cameron's more technologically inclined psychic driving techniques. You can also find these psychic driving techniques every Wednesday night on Drive Time Movie Night, where I psychologically condition Mike of Pole using the induction of psychoneuroses by conditioned reflex under stress by watching bad movies. Although we've actually been watching too many good ones recently. You like that weave? You like that shill weave? You like that shill weave?
Yeah, it was a good one.
We just knocked out. All right. The subject is made pliable through sensory and sleep deprivation, an alternate inundation of visual and electronic stimuli, and through hypnosis and post-hypnotic suggestion, the controller implants cues and triggers into the sleeper, who can now transmit information deeply encoded within his mind. Kind of funny how I mentioned Johnny Mnemonic earlier, huh?
Yeah. Oh, here comes my dude. Have you ever heard the Michael Crichton was killed by the CIA story?
I have not heard that one, but I would love to have it laid on me.
Yeah, I don't know it well enough, but that's one that you should like look into. It's real interesting because he also
what's the plot? Well, what's the proposed reason?
His last book was like sort of very close to sort of CIA, like sort of like exposing surveillance, like cutting edge surveillance technology and that sort of thing. And Michael Crichton also suddenly died of a very rapid onset cancer. Yeah.
At age 66.
He was a little bit. I mean, he was in the age where it didn't raise many eyebrows, but it's like still, it's like one of those things. It's like, oh, that's funny that happened in that order.
Yeah. Next, a 2006 satirical techno thriller. Interesting. Follows transgenic animals. Interesting. You must be talking about State of Fear, though, right?
Yeah.
Eco-terrorism. Nice. You'll love to see it. Yeah, Michael Crichton, honestly, as far as like Slop Kings go, He was pretty good.
You know, I can't even call him slop. I move him, like, the two writers that are normally in the slop category that I don't put in the slop category are him and John Grisham, whose books I really like, actually. Yeah.
I mean, I remember like reading Jurassic Park
It's incredible.
when I was 10 and being like, oh, this is what adults read. I can read this.
Yeah, but I mean, it's an incredible book that conveys a compelling story loaded down with some actually really fucking good science, and like that's not easy to juggle. And he like paces them incredibly. He's an incredible writer, actually.
Crichton.
Yeah,
I mean, yeah, like they're not complete garbage, but yeah, I don't know. It'd be nice.
I'm a Turbo fan, man.
It would be nice to see it would be nice to see a remake of Jurassic Park that is novel, like that is just like the novel.
Yeah, that's one
where Richard Attenborough's character is a fucking bastard.
Yeah, I'll even take Zendaya as Laura Dern's character. Sure, go ahead and make it.
I said novel. I said novel accurate, sir. Anyway, Harry Benson, the protagonist of Michael Crichton's 1972 novel *The Terminal Man*, is a brilliant computer programmer who is helping to develop artificial intelligence for the Department of Defense. After a car accident, Benson begins to suffer from epileptic seizures and amnesic blackouts, during which he becomes violent and is preoccupied with a persistent delusion that machines are conspiring to take over the world. In late 1970, Benson was arrested after attacking a man while on the throes of a seizure and was referred to the neuropsychiatric research unit of a Los Angeles University hospital. That unit's director, Dr. Roger McPherson, had been waiting for just such a patient upon whom to test an experimental new operation, the implanting of electrodes deep in the brain controlled by an implantable computer the size of a postage stamp elsewhere on the body. The computer, detecting the onset of a seizure, would prevent it by stimulating portions of the brain. Due to his seizures, Benson is a walking, ticking time bomb that the procedure could diffuse. Honestly, that technology fucking exists now, by the way.
It totally does.
It actually exists. McPherson and his staff understand the controversial nature of the procedure, though, and the potential loss of funding if the operation inflames the ignorant public's fear of brainwashing. Therefore, they must be very careful about how they sell the experimental operation to the public. McPherson explains that there's a lot of crap theory floating around about the social and cultural roots of violence, when in reality, people who engage in repetitive violent acts, like certain policemen, gangsters, and rioters could be here, he thought. I've never been to this neighborhood before. Are actually afflicted with brain damage. Bring up the bell curve, if we could.
Well, what I would like to point out here is if you look at this is 1970. If you also sort of pay attention and you read it from a slightly different angle, this almost sounds like it could be Steve Jobs talking.
Really?
Yeah. Like this is like his his sort of like marketing theory, like basically boils down to the average person is brain damaged and needs to be told what they want.
Fair enough. Okay. Okay, you want this. That's true.
Yes.
Ellis, a surgeon working under McPherson, echoes the director's sentiments when he tells reporters that the fact that a high percentage of violent people have brain damage and cites Texas Tower shooter Charles Whitman and Lee Harvey Oswald as examples of this. This, he says, shoots down a lot of theories about poverty and discrimination and social injustice and social disorganization. You can't correct physical brain damage with social remedies. Based. I'm thinking based. Benson's operation is only the first step towards the towards the realization of McPherson's true vision, the development of computers circuitry made from living human nerve cells and ultimately brain prosthesis. That exists too now. Christopher,
have you ever seen that movie about the UT shooting? It came out in like 1972.
I haven't.
It's probably one of the best. I'm trying to remember the name of it, but it's probably, if there is one single movie that is the best movie that's ever been made that sort of like represents the platonic form of Austin, Texas, it's that one. It's incredible. Yeah.
I've never been to Austin, so I wouldn't have the frame, but interesting. Sex Freakman, a persistent delusion that machines are conspiring to take over the world. Incidentally, they are. Actually, in our own world, I have to take the Landian tack and say the world is conspiring to be taken over by machines.
Right.
That's more like what's occurring. Let's see here. McPherson and his staff proceed with the operation against the advice of Benson's psychiatrist, also working in the research unit, who feels that it will only exacerbate his delusions about the threat of intelligent machines. McPherson says, "We have created a man with not one brain, but two. We've created a man who is one single large complex computer terminal."
Damn.
Eventually, Benson, tormented by the technology, attempts to destroy the state-of-the-art computer mainframe located in the basement of the hospital that controls his implanted technology, but is killed by his psychiatrist in the process.
Oops.
Seems like you ought to read that on Cannon Fodder when it comes back. Just FYI.
Like I do. Is there any ETA on Hudson? It's gonna be a while, isn't it?
It's going to be a bit.
I might start doing Cannon Fodder too.
Finally, George Droid.
Yeah, to keep it warm for him, because like you start like losing recognition really fast whenever you go. I'm gonna steal his brand and start talking about books while he's gone.
Hudson is I don't know if he is if it's possible to swap him out on Cannon Fodder.
Yeah,
I don't know if that would work at all.
I don't think it would.
Also,
I think I'm just going to start doing spaces, and because that's actually not really a canonical book either. That's like just a book that we want to talk. That I would like want to talk.
Man,
about.
I did one on Farnham's Freehold from Heinlein. So let's be real here. Also, he's got a hell of a backlog.
I have a nastier concept of the canon than anybody else does. Like I cut everything off at the year 1900, so that's it. And so like yeah, hey, Nick Land does the same thing. So like Dr. Land and I are on. It's for biosecurity reasons.
Okay. Yeah. Interesting. All right. At the start of the novel, Crichton includes a historically accurate timeline of implantable technologies, as well as an accompanying bibliography in which the recent works of Jose Delgado, Frank Irvin, and Vernon Mark are noted. In a postscript included in subsequent editions, Crichton explains that after the release of the book, several neurologists informed him that epilepsy and brain damage do not, in fact, cause violence. Although Crichton insisted he was not so sure. I think I'm right. Actually, also, okay, I'm coming around on Crichton just on the Chad. Like, I think you're wrong, right there. Yeah. Let's see. Not mentioned by Crichton, but noted in the 1974 Senate subcommittee report concerning federal funding of behavior modification, was that Crichton based his terrifying novel on the actual work of Drs. Irvin, UCLA, Mark, and William Sweet, and the character of Benson on one of their patients. Not mentioned by either, but noted by the literary critic David Seed, is the fact that Crichton himself, an MD, studied under Dr. Mark, and Benson's character was inspired by Thomas, the man driven insane by the above-mentioned doctor's operation on him. The Terminal Man, says Seed, follows a long line of literature wherein the mad scientist proves unable to control the experimental subject and depicts the male-gendered arrogance surrounding existing medical technology that proves to have links with military hardware. Wait, so Michael Crichton worked under Mark and Irvin, who worked under Jolyon West.
Yes.
Yeah. Neurolinguistic programming. Fuck. There are actually giant. I think that what this tells me is that there are actually giant white apes somewhere in Africa guarding a treasure. That's what it tells me. Sphere is real. In 1978, Don DeLillo mentioned, announced the advent of an age of connections, links, and secret relationships, which he called the Age of Conspiracy. That same year, H.W. Boert released his groundbreaking nonfiction bestseller, Operation Mind Control, which included a foreword by Robert Condon, author of The Manchurian Candidate. In it, Boert conceived of the cryptocracy, a large, incestuous institutional network of bureaucratic government agencies and private corporations involved in mind control research and operations. How many times have people invented the cathedral?
I was literally about to say, in case everyone hasn't figured this out, every book that's been mentioned so far is required reading. It's not canonical, but it's absolutely required reading.
Yeah.
And they're all incredible too. Like every one of them is good.
Yeah, it's by 2000, embeddable tracking and control implants were no longer thought of as futuristic technology. People were choosing to have them placed in themselves and their children, although you were still crazy if you claimed to have one involuntarily. So true. Developed by alliances of private and public institutions, this technology, when coupled with the internet and advances in microtechnology, offered an untold number of brave new capabilities. There's a rumor going around that the military had placed them in soldiers during the Gulf War. In a 2004 remake of The Manchurian Candidate, Shaw is a Gulf War veteran. His brainwashing no longer relies on DDD and hypnosis, but now involves a private defense contractor utilizing high-tech brain implants and subcutaneous chips that remote control the subject through invasive technology, literally drilling into his brain. Platoon members are inculcated with manufactured memories, memory chips implanted, and wires and IV tubes. As previously discussed, although he denied it later at various times within a span of 3 years, McVey told a number of different people in different locations throughout the country that he'd been implanted with something while in the Army. The first known instance occurred in early 1992 at Fort Riley, while McVey was still in the Army, but shortly before deciding, or being directed to, end his active duty military career. In reference to reports about McVey's alleged implantable tracking chip, a July 1995 Globe and Mail article derided such nonsense, opining that paranoid beliefs of this type originate from the public's fear of high-tech surveillance, and a rumor that microchips are now being implanted in babies just after birth. McVey had discussed the latter with a number of people, including Buffalo area AIDS HIV volunteer Peter Salino and his Michigan friend Gwen Strider, among others. Upon his arrest, McVey displayed. We're just like that. We're back to McVey. Did you even notice?
No, like she just slid right into it.
Slid right into McVey.
That's an excellent transition. That's like Pink Floyd tier transition, actually.
Yeah, just you didn't even notice the key change. Upon his arrest, McVey displayed a disturbing eerie calm and reportedly gave only minimal identification information, name, rank, serial number. And somewhere along the way, at least as reported by one outlet, claimed to have a biochip as part of what the report described as a fantastical control project. Whatever the truth of such reports, soon after his arrest, the Jones team began looking into a variety of fringe-type subjects that they suspected in some way pertained to McVey. In May 1995, they began research into Gulf War illness-related issues, including experimental vaccines and immunizations. In June, they began research into microchips being implanted into military personnel and others. In October, they began research into enlistees who were subjected to brainwashing and or electromagnetic mind control experiments. The findings of this research are unknown to me, and ultimately, for their purposes, none of these topics would come to bear upon his criminal trial. They just like went into it. They just like dove right in, and it did not. It had no effect. Perfect. Let's see. X Guy Extra. Thank you for the $5 and concerned face. I don't know. What would you call it? Would you call that that's an emoticon, right? We just call it an emoticon rather than an emoji.
Yeah. Fuck.
Are you that upset by an emoticon?
No, I'm not that upset. I'm actually still thinking about Jolly West, unfortunately.
You're still thinking about you're just
Yeah.
I hate the fucking main character, right?
Yeah, the main
Real main character energy. McVey's extra leg, government sanctioned covert operative, lone bomber, and other stories demonstrate how, having stepped into the real or imagined world of Timothy McVey, the Jones team seemed to have a difficult time determining what exactly might be the delusion, paranoia, outright deception, or what in fact might be the truth, or at the very least somewhat truthful. To help resolve this, the Jones team mental health experts attempted to understand the inner workings of McVey's mind and the autobiographical details of his life, speaking to many people who knew him in their effort to do so. Meanwhile, and for quite some time, his attorneys attempted to obtain a complete set of his military records that may have helped fill in some of the gaps. When they called Fort Riley to obtain the records, however, they learned that they had been transferred to the office of the Joint Chiefs of Staff, who themselves requested them from the FBI. Sorry, we only had one copy.
Yeah.
But also, the chairman of the Joint Chiefs of the Office of the Joint Chiefs of Staff wanted the only copy of this one random enlisted man's records.
Right. It's like, yeah. Well, when did he ask for it? Oh, you just missed him. He was here an hour ago.
Yeah. You just missed him. In a conversation with Dick Burr on October 1995, when asked if he was paranoid, while not mentioning any chip, McVey described himself as someone who experienced a spectrum of paranoia that ranged from situational awareness to extra cautious to occasionally paranoid. But he added this stemmed from his knowledge of modern technology. To illustrate his point, McVey described a then recent New York Times story he had read about police using high technology to fight crime and the privacy issues raised by videotaping public areas and using hidden microphones at airports and malls. McVey then made a slippery slope argument against the practice, citing a line in the Turner Diaries to support his point. Because the chains that bind us were forged imperceptibly, link by link, we submitted. Maybe, I don't know, like not a bad sentiment, but pick your sources when attempting to convince an audience.
Okay, like this is like one of these things. This seems so low rent. First of all, the things that make him paranoid are things that we just accept on a daily basis. The things he's paranoid about are things that we shove in our own faces day to day.
We're literally doing it right now.
Yes.
Thanks for joining us, all 200 people.
Yeah,
you're doing it right now.
So like there's that, but then like there's also a like blowback, like you're talking aberration in the heartland of the real. This is like blowback to a time where like if you're Timothy McVey with Timothy McVey's like strange psychological profile, there's a possibility that passing out copies of the Turner Diaries has gotten you out of some local police encounter before. That's
true.
Might have worked.
Or you interpret you getting out of those things.
Like
the thing that
like I think what is it? I second time I've brought this up now though, but like Scanner Darkly does kind of a wonderful. Oh no, this is the other great Austin movie. Scanner Darkly does a wonderful job of kind of it's kind of still like more high tech, but like you can still tell there's people in the world that are just like totally bowled over by the idea of like instant communication of any kind, and they're like it's like everybody's still it's like all low key. It's like yeah maybe the Turner Diaries doesn't have this national, it like could be passed off as something secret. So like there's like way more of like a secret everything going on. Like, anybody who knows about this stuff, they tend to be paranoid loons. And the police are all paranoid loons too.
Okay. All right. Fair enough. So you're saying that some of those that work forces are the same that burn crosses, but in a positive way.
Well, I mean, yeah, there's that. But I'm saying that also. Then, of course, they're all fucked in the end because, like, William Luther Pierce. Never mind. I don't want to offend anybody.
Oh my god. Yeah, we're doing it now. Let's see here. Owen Zaleski, get an entropy, get an entropy, get an entropy. Thanks for the $2, bud. Always appreciate it. Yeah, eventually we will.
What is an entropy?
An entropy is another platform that causes us not to pay Google 30% of all of our super chats, but also doesn't integrate as well. So,
right.
Yeah, you and I got to talk about that thing again, by the way.
Yeah, I was thinking about that.
Anyway, let's see. Lightning NC, Tim, screw your optics. I'm going in. McVey Groiper. That's very, very true. Very true. Very true. Drive the 1993 Ford F500, bud. Lightning NC, stop saying like. Yeah, Sandbatch, come on, edit yourself. I get my you don't get your likes. That's how it works.
I've gotten so much worse about it lately. Like in the last 7 months, I'm catching.
You just did it twice in that sentence.
I'm catching terminal millennial.
I mean, I think it's because you moved to Austin.
Yeah, that's what happened. I immediately started picking up. Oh my god, I've been hanging out with too many white women.
Yeah, that's what does it.
Shit.
Let's see. FBI informant requests Scanner Darkly for drive-by movie night. So I've never.
It has to be with me. It has to be with me.
I've actually never seen a Scanner Darkly.
Oh man, it's probably one of my top. Probably not top 5, but it's definitely one of my top 10 favorite movies ever. Yeah,
I've read it, of course, but I have not seen it.
It's like everything with Philip K. Dick. If you've read, there's no correlation between reading it and seeing it almost.
Sure. Yeah. All right, here. Man, chat's doing good. Chat's doing good right now. Drive-by movie night. Goddamn. Yeah, Drive Time Movie Night. That is the name of the show. Because it's on at drive. It starts at 6 p.m. Central Time, so it's on during drive time. All right, here. Where am I? I've completely lost my place. Here we go. Peter, the paranoid protagonist of Tracy Letts' 1996 play Bug and its 2006 movie adaptation, which I also haven't seen, follows the play nearly exactly. As a Gulf War veteran who may or may not be AWOL, Peter tells his new friend Agnes that after military doctors implanted a crude tracking device under his skin, he escaped from the VA hospital only to be apprehended. Afterward, the doctor replaced his primitive tracking chip with a newer model, the Intelligence Manned Interface Biochip, a subcutaneous transponder, a computer chip imprinted with living brain cells, a bug sac that when placed in the teeth is able to spawn additional bugs. Peter was not the only lab rat used to test the biochip. They also tested it on another soldier working at Calspan at the time, Tim McVey. By the time he meets Agnes, Peter is plagued by an infestation of self-perpetuating, rapidly multiplying, brainwashing bugs. Burrowing under his skin and teeth, the bugs emit signals back to his controllers. When Agnes suggests that Peter see a dentist, he refuses, telling her that doing so would only assist the army doctors who were trying to recapture him. In one of Bug's more disturbing scenes, Peter enters the bathroom of a dingy Oklahoma City motel room he now shares with Agnes, only to emerge covered in blood, having pulled out one of his teeth with pliers in an attempt to remove the bug sac tracking device in his tooth. Eventually, Peter's viral paranoia infects Agnes too, and she becomes convinced that Peter's bugs are now crawling under her skin as well. In order to shield themselves from the bugs and prevent them from transmitting their whereabouts to the army doctors, Agnes and Peter cover the motel room and everything with it and in it with tinfoil. Bug convincingly leads viewers to believe that Peter's claims are the result of drug-induced delusions, and this is how the majority of critics have interpreted his actions. Although questions are raised when the sound of approaching helicopters, assumedly black, surround the motel room, growing increasingly louder until finally there is an unexpected knock at the door. At the door is Dr. Sweet, Peter's former army psychologist, from whose care he has escaped. Sweet attempts to convince Peter to return to the hospital. When Agnes protests, Dr. Sweet concedes, "I'm his doctor. He's my project. We made a mistake. I made a mistake. I didn't know what we were using it for. what they're doing, but it's dangerous. It's wrong. As the hovering helicopters grow louder, Dr. Sweet confirms that the motel room is under surveillance by a variety of covert agencies. And he tells Peter that he will be better off if he willingly surrenders to Sweet, and cannot guarantee what will happen to the other spooks if the other spooks catch him first. Peter, finding this option unacceptable, tells Agnes that Dr. Sweet is a robot and proceeds to stab the doctor to death. Peter and Agnes, alone once more in the tinfoil-covered dwelling, invoke the deaths of the Branch Davidians at Waco, Texas, when they douse the room with ammonium nitrate and perish in a fire that they themselves set.
I like Woodpit 420s.
How much ammonium nitrate do you think will fit in this motel room?
Imagine what slaps the roof of this motel room. Imagine how much ammonium nitrate
you could fit in this bad boy. That's right.
Covered in, Woodfile 420 says covered in blue goo, which is like, you remember, if you remember the movie, if you remember that movie, the beginning
brain damage
scene, it's like
brain damage causes violence.
No.
It literally does.
But like we just like got walked through almost exactly like the story, like the opening scene with the couple.
Yeah, that's right.
I just cost myself like 40 cents but it was worth it.
It's funny because when you approximated with the like rather than just stalling with the like,
yeah,
you still cost yourself 10 cents.
Yeah, exactly.
So by saying 40, it was actually 50.
Damn.
We're gonna get to
dependency.
bugs. That's right. Yeah. I mean, this movie, I haven't seen this movie either, but this one sounds like it sounds pretty good. You know, Wendy clearly likes it. She just told us all about it.
Right. Strange intrusion.
This is the part. This is why Aberration in the Heartland of the Real is such a special book, because as it goes on, Wendy intrudes more and more into it.
Yes.
And she just like tells us about her favorite movies and how they kind of relate to the narratives of Timothy McVey. You know, it's literally Timothy McVey mentioned, right? Anyway,
Wendy doing autofiction over here.
Bug appears to be an amalgamation of purportedly non-fictional stories circulating in the realms of conspiracy theorists for quite some time. Details reported after McVey's arrest and the incorporation of both into newer mind control narratives that appeared on the internet after. Most interestingly, though, is the close parallel of details in Bug with those in a 1994 book written by Ronald K. Siegel, Ph.D., esteemed experimental psychology researcher at UCLA's Department of Psychiatry and Behavioral Science, who happened to be a close colleague of Dr. West. The book, Whispers, The Voices of Paranoia, offers several case studies of Siegel's interactions with and the study of paranoiacs throughout his career, at least 3 of which seem to have found their way into Bug. Included is the case of Dr. Edwin Tolman, a biophysicist with a high-level clearance and a director of a super-secret research unit for an aerospace company in California, who believes he is being targeted by an advanced satellite system called POSSE, Personal Orbit Satellite for Surveillance and Enforcement. POSSE, Tolman says, uses low-frequency electromagnetic energy, ELF, to track him and insert troubling visual images into his brain, which you can actually do with microwaves, by the way. The second relevant case study concerns a woman who believes that a dentist has implanted a receiver-transmitter nanotechnology into her teeth. Technology that was developed by the military and, for the most part, has been kept secret, while a network of dentists implant the devices into their patients to harass and spy on them. Siegel reminds readers that the woman is not alone in her belief, but one of a number of people who have made similar claims, some of whom go to extreme lengths to remove the imagined devices themselves. Finally, Siegel
Oof.
documents several individuals who have come to believe that bugs have infiltrated their bodies, self-mutilate in an attempt to stop the bugs, and in some cases are able to convince people close to them that the bugs are real and have targeted them too. In one case, a man who believes his bugs originated from the machinations of a secretive government agency killed himself in front of his family. Have you ever heard of Morgellons?
No.
Morgellons is another similar idea. You know, obvious people are, of course, capable of having delusions, right?
Yeah.
Morgellons is another one where people will think that fibers are growing from wounds that they have.
Uh-huh.
So, like, if you see people who like take pictures of their Morgellons, sometimes it will look like, you know, sutures that are sticking out. Sometimes it'll look like sort of hairs that are wound together. Sometimes it looks like carpet fiber or whatever. You know, it always looks different whenever someone talks about it, whenever someone says they have it. But it essentially the idea is that their body is producing these exogenous sorts of you know, filaments.
Yeah.
And it's I mean, people go fucking bananas to get rid of it, right? And
yeah, that's probably true.
And it's not typically, and the weird thing about Morgellons is that it's not typically associated with other delusions. So they're like a completely rational, normal person who is 1,000% convinced that this is occurring to them.
Right. Oh, wow. Oh, I see what you mean. I'm looking at pictures now.
So there's like very few comorbidities with Morgellons, which is
right
the weirdest part of it. So, yeah, there's some wacky images. But yeah, a lot of the times it's like, oh, well, this is like, you know, this is like from your couch or something. Like, it looks like it's like, this kind of looks like polyester, you know?
You don't look like you've showered recently.
Yeah. Throughout the book, Siegel makes reference to tricking or deceiving the individuals whose paranoia he was documenting and studying, including at times misrepresenting himself and his interest in them, at least until he can get their cooperation. This is necessary to get inside their head. In the case of the infiltrating bugs, Siegel rightfully attributes the bugs to the effects of powerful drugs such as cocaine and amphetamines. In the other two cases outlined above, involving tracking and control implants and satellites, Siegel acknowledged that the technologies exist. Nevertheless, he dismisses their claims as delusional, in part because he does not think the technologies are in an operative state of development, and even if they were, would not be tested or used against people in such cruel ways. I'm gonna press F to doubt there.
Wait a second. We read the last chapter.
Yeah. Wait a minute. I feel like you are being too optimistic about some of that. While Siegel presents an elegant case for chalking up the beliefs of those he studies to paranoid delusions, he makes at least one critical omission. In his recounting of the case of Dr. Tolman, the aerospace developer who claimed Posse was projecting images into his field of vision, Siegel neglects to mention a paper he wrote in 1968 that explored, although not satellites, technologies that could accomplish this very thing. Siegel, funded in part by Defense Research Board of Canada, designed a device called Focus, Flexible Optical Control Unit Stimulator, as described in his 1968 paper entitled A Device for Chronically Controlled Visual Input, published in the Journal of the Experimental Analysis of Behavior. In it, Siegel discusses the device's ability to maintain direct control of visual input and bring visual stimuli directly to the eye. The further development of this and the inducement of specific visual images, he wrote, is both feasible and useful. Given this, Siegel's omission in his 1994 book, his peppering of sarcastic ridicule of Tolman throughout the account, and quite frankly, his connection to UCLA shortly after publishing this 1968 paper, takes on a somewhat more ominous meaning, as does the subtext of bug.
Damn.
It's like, sorry, I read your fucking CV. Like, you want to explain these posts?
Yeah, literally.
Wendy just this you'd? Yeah.
It says here under the name Cum Pumper 1488, you tweeted,
Yeah.
something.
You tweeted, lol, got my satellite on this nigga. Exactly. Woodpit 420. Wendock must have researched this book for over 10 years. Quite impressive. Yeah, no, absolutely. That's why it's so special. That's why it's so special. Yeah, every single person she mentions is a extremely pullable thread, and all of these fucking spook doctors have like a ton of publications, all of which are fucking bananas. Like, it is, there are 20 more books in this book.
It's one of those that like it's great. I would just tell students this sometimes. I'd be like, every line in this dissertation is another dissertation, and Wendy's really good at that. She's maybe one of the best. I'm still reading this kind of like academic writing. She's maybe one of the best academic writers because she's definitely still adhering to the form mostly. Like, the way she intervenes is the way like academics intervene in their own texts too. It's really interesting. She's really good at it.
She's and she also, I mean, yeah, she just gets completely stuck in, right?
Yeah.
Let's see. And I love, at this point, the lack of brevity is obviously its own sort of quality here. The maximalist history.
Yeah, it's like Gravity's Rainbow. If you've gotten this far, or Moby Dick. Really, actually it reminds me in a way of Moby Dick. If like a girl in the 2010s wrote it, this would not be
after the first 600 pages.
Yeah.
You're gonna be really sad if there's only 100 more pages. So you better go ahead and add like 400 more pages.
Right.
Yeah, it can just be an arbitrary length at that point.
Rolling well into the Tumblr years now.
Yep. Oh my God. Unlike Siegel, who refuses to consider larger cultural reasons why his very real research subjects might have developed their delusions, one reviewer of Bug's 2006 cinematic adaptation did consider such factors in relation to Peter, who happens to display a long line of peculiar delusions discussed by Siegel. The reviewer felt that while Peter was manipulative and violently unhinged, a familiar American type, the paranoid loner with a shady past, his bugs were manifestations of a profound uncertainty about the militaristic applications of hyper-miniaturized technology, rapid advances in nanotechnology, and the increasing reach of the state. All such stories, fictional and purportedly true, raise questions about the relationship between technological development, behavioral conditioning, and the loss or theft of autonomy and control. The real and imagined history of American brainwashing and its lengthy tentacles begins to help make sense of speculation, legend, and fact embedded within stories about McVey, Calspan, Dr. Jolyon West, and the intersection of all three. With that in mind, let us look once more at McVey's alleged implanted microchip in relation to the wider sociocultural context in which it appeared.
See, like I said, that's all grad student talk right there. It's like pure grad, real or imagined. That's like she's like speaking to academic trends at her exact moment there. So she's like, yeah, she's definitely working in the form. It's interesting. She's good. I like her.
On December 14th, 1994, 26-year-old psychology student Ralph Tortorici walked into a classroom at the University of Albany and with a high-caliber rifle and hunting knife held the class hostage. Tortorici believed he was part of a secret government experiment and was implanted with a tracking device in his penis and a computer chip in his brain that could control his thoughts and emotions. He demanded to speak to somebody about the experiment, but before this could happen, students overtook him and he was arrested. Why is my cock always hard when I look at... Sorry.
What are the chances today of that happening, by the way? Like, look, students quickly overpowered the armed man? Is that what
this was
happened here?
1990. This was 1994. Caucasian males were still the majority at
Right.
universities.
Right.
So, yeah. In fact, although they didn't usually take hostages or act violently, claims of this sort were becoming increasingly common. A few years later, UA shut down the X-Files type research of psychology professor Catherine Kelly, PhD. Since the hostage incident, Kelly had been investigating the claims of those like Tortorici that suspected or believed they'd been involuntarily implanted with communications devices for monitoring and control. In her related lectures and papers, Dr. Kelly noted instances of implant research funded by the NSA and DoD and the usually disenfranchised populations upon whom these devices were tested. She and her team of graduate students identified several companies who had developed trans-tympanic transducers, instruments that function as mini telephones, sending voice messages to the inner ear. She also spoke of RAATs, radio wave auditory assaultive transmitting implants. Fucking sick. When shortwave operators transmit or scan rat implants in victims, they can talk to the victims remotely and anonymously and hear the victim's speech and thoughts. They could easily be implanted, leaving only minor stitches in the ear. She pointed out that despite this, implanted claims are generally interpreted as an indicator of schizophrenia. Her colleagues became concerned that she actually believed such implants would be commonplace in the future. Why is that weird? Like if if technology exists, right, and the technology exists, why would people not use it? Why is it insane to think that people will use existing technology? It's
right.
It's
Exactly.
retarded to think otherwise.
It's
fucking stupid to think otherwise.
Why do you think it was invented? So people could use it, you know?
Oh, do you think people would do that? Just do something that's bad for them because it's slightly convenient? I don't think so. I don't think so, Catherine. That's ridiculous. Anyway, I'm gonna pick up a pizza on the way home.
Yeah.
So, in September 1995, the Journal of Nervous and Mental Disease published an article detailing the delusions of two individuals who complained of electronic devices implanted in the fillings of their teeth. Their respective psychiatrists, having concluded that they were mentally ill, intervened to prevent the dental extractions they sought and prescribed antipsychotic drugs instead. According to the authors of the article, the crux of the problem, what made them crazy, was that neither seemed to realize the implausibility of their claims. Various theorists have posited that anomalous sensory experiences and episodic illnesses provide fodder for delusions. For instance, dental pain can correlate to the belief that an outside force, government, spouse, parent, etc., had implanted a chip in one's tooth for the purposes of remotely tracking, controlling, or both. Which one of your e-girls implanted the chip, Sandbatch? Oh, he doesn't know. Or he's been taken. She's there.
No, it's interesting. Yeah, she's right here. There are two possibilities. Actually, three. There are three possibilities.
Okay.
And it could 30% on each of them. If I have a chip, it could have been any of them.
It could have been. I mean, how often do you think it has occurred that one of your e-girls tries to implant a chip and then tries to put it in and realizes there's another chip in there?
It's like, yeah, there's no space left here. He's nothing but chips.
It's all chips. It's just nothing. This guy's put a Frito-Lay label on this guy. He's completely full of chips. Yes, perfect. In September 1995, the Journal of Nervous and Mental Disease published an article detailing the delusions of two. Yeah, I already fucking read this. In 2002, an article in Psychiatry added to a small list of case studies about this belief and recommended diagnostic criteria for culturally bound delusion, including the specific delusional belief of having a microchip implanted in one's body. This article, while acknowledging that such technologies do exist, The belief itself is nonetheless not credible in the local cultural context and therefore is delusional. Larger social, cultural, and political events and circumstances, including technological innovations and other scientific developments, may cause fact and fiction to become enmeshed in the delusional belief, which, when organized around a particular theme, tracking chip, is considered a systematized delusion. For instance, Jose Delgado pioneered the development of such technologies during the first half of the 20th century, and along with his contemporaries, went on to advocate their use in a program of political control for larger society. On the other hand, poor Thomas, who doctors Irvin, Sweet, and Mark implanted, certainly wasn't delusional when he claimed cruel doctors wrongfully placed implants in his brain. So I'm just gonna circle back around to our previous discussion here, and say that if someone says that there is a foreign object in their body, right? It is, rather than, I don't know, give them an X-ray or an MRI or something to try to detect it, or, even say, oh, you think you have one in your tooth? We could just replace the filling,
Yeah, this is why the tooth doesn't necessarily make a lot of sense here.
Oh, I'm just saying, like, just hear me out here.
Right.
There is, it's strange that it's just, considered on its face delusional, right? When it's a belief about one's body. But if you think that you're a woman,
here we go again.
And you are a male, then it's not considered on its face delusional, and you ought to do. I'm just saying.
It's just doing a little then and now,
I'm just saying. Well, I mean, even now, no, it's now and now.
Oh,
it's still now and now.
That's true. Now that I think about it, yeah.
If you said, I think that there is a chip in my brain,
yeah,
and you don't like preface that with, here are all the receipts from when I went and had Neuralink implanted. I have a beta chip in there and it needs to get removed because it's out of fucking batteries or something. Right? Like, unless you preface it with all those receipts, you are going to be considered a loon.
Yeah, it's true. Yeah, that's totally true.
Even though there's $1 billion company that does that exact thing. Like, just pointing it out. All right. Let me see. Put that one down in there. Oh man, chat actually beat me to it. Basically, we'll catch up a little bit here. X Guy Extra. Morgellons reminds me when skeptic chemists discovered persistent fluorine compounds in human blood, and it took literally decades to prove it was PFAS. Yeah, it's true, and it's still a fucking issue. PFAS is still in goddamn everything.
I saw that comment and chose to try not to think about it.
No, it's terrifying, right? Like, who knows? For all we know, like, PFAS is just causing all the trannies. Like, it's totally plausible. Like, we don't. There's an actual increased amount, and yeah, some of it is probably social contagion, but maybe there are some chemical influences. Maybe it's that shit. There's certainly some. It would be weird to say that these things have no influence on people, and that would be a subtle enough one that it would be tough to detect.
Right.
Let's see. Focusing a lot on teeth. Yeah. I think that actual delusions do focus a lot on teeth. They're just kind of there's something that people are really. I mean, there's a lot of nerve endings in there,
Yeah,
so people really focus. Right. People really focus on them, and it's also, dental care is extremely mechanized.
Yeah.
Right. I mean, there are all of these miniaturized drills and shit that they put in your mouth, right? It is unlike any other kind of healthcare, right? So it's not super strange that someone who let's just go ahead and presume the delusion, right? If you were going to have a delusion about something, that would be kind of the low hanging fruit, right? You could just solve this problem by not going to the dentist ever.
Yeah, under no circumstance. That's what I do.
Yeah. Let's see here. Oh yeah, X guy. It's mostly in military equipment and old fire extinguishing materials, but yeah, so a lot of things and phasing out more PFAS. It's in all sorts of shit. Actually, it's still in weatherproof. It's still in weatherproof clothing. Like if you're buying a super expensive Arc'teryx like rain shell for hiking, shit's full of PFAS. Like it's just
Is it really?
Oh yeah.
That shit is so expensive too. I would think that would be the ones that specifically didn't have it in there.
Yeah, you would be wrong.
Wrong again.
Basically, we have no safe plastics. We have essentially no safe plastics and lots of unsafe treatments for even natural fabrics. The issue is not sort of the acute effects of these things. We're very good at detecting the acute effects of contaminants, incredibly bad at detecting subtle long-term effects of anything, right? Which is why every generation has its asbestos and lead paint, etc.
Right.
So we need to just actually stop inventing new materials.
That's it. Yeah, we've got enough.
Like the materials that exist in materials that exist like in frequent contact with humans should probably just be limited, in my opinion. And if you're doing some sort of like advanced industrial metamaterials or something like that, it's a different deal. But if it's supposed to be in contact with humans, it should really just have different rules. So glass, steel, wood, fucking, plant materials. Anyway. All right. No matter what explanation any one member of the Jones team suspected or believed about the famed chip, the fact remains that as an adult, beginning during the time he was in the Army, McVey became inexplicably familiar with the dentist chair. His teeth continued to attract attention after his arrest and soon became the subject of shared delusions. Did I note on the previous episode my research about Jolyon West and dentistry?
I can't remember. It seems familiar, so possibly.
Hold on. I'm gonna talk about something while I find my notes. One sec.
Talk about something. Do you really want to know like what I've got?
Go for it. Do it.
So I'm like thinking about this. He's a poet. He's a Russian poet named Velimir Khlebnikov. And apparently his work's never been translated into English, but he's kind of an interesting dude. He's from the Russian futurists. And like he fought in World War I. And it's just like reading his like bio, it says he got increasingly mystical towards the end of his life and more interested in Slavic mythology and Pythagorean numerology, drawing up long tables of destiny and decomposing historical intervals into dates, into functions, and dates into functions of the numbers 2 and 3. I want to check this guy out now.
Very interesting.
Yeah.
Okay, here we go. Jolyon West co-wrote an article called Dental Management of the Patient with Major Depression. Essentially, what West did in this was note the correlations between patients with major depressive and other psychological issues and dental issues. How is a correlation, and the dental issues frequently preceded the availability of psychological diagnosis. So West suggested in the article to basically use dental tracking to predict psychological turbulence, let's say.
That's interesting.
So, and if we recall from the earlier series, it seems like McVey went to the dentist an absolute shitload before his encounter with the major.
Interesting.
And so it's like going to the dentist too much was the feeder. Like that was the beginning of the funnel.
Interesting. Yeah. Huh. It's like says here you go to the dentist too much.
Yep.
You might be a good candidate for a special program.
Exactly. He became inexplicably familiar with the dentist chair. His teeth continued to attract attention after his arrest and soon became the subject of shared delusions. As previously noted, excluding his numerous Army dentist visits, McVey saw a dentist in Michigan in late 1993. His discolored eye tooth was noted by realtor Bob Maloney in November 1994, and he saw an Arizona dentist in April 1995, just weeks prior to the bombing. Stephen Jones said that while he was at Tinker Air Force Base, the FBI attempted to obtain McVey's handwriting sample, but McVey refused to comply and was not compelled to, as a judge sustained the objections his attorneys raised. I now know, said Jones, that in reality the FBI really didn't care about the handwriting sample. They were hoping that McVey could speak because they wanted to look at his teeth. Crazy. Given McVey's observable cavities, his unusual dental records, and his earlier offer to prove his honesty by subjecting himself to truth serums or torture, his response to a prison dentist who, in a December 1995, asked him if he ever had any cavities is curious. McVey told the dentist that he only ever had one cavity in his entire life and had it fixed in early 1995. In a memo detailing the visit, Randall Coyne wrote, Tim wants to be sure he is not injected with sodium pentothal, and so asked the dentist, how do I know you won't give me sodium pentothal instead of Novocaine? To which the dentist sharply replied, this ain't Nazi Germany. But Morris, the unit manager, chimed in, telling McVey, the truth is you don't know. Teeth and truth, for whatever reason, appear inexorably mixed up in his story. Teeth and truth. In teeth, there is still truth. Take refuge there. All right. Let's see where we are. Dentistry is a class issue because of its cost. I mean, I don't know. Maybe dentistry is not that expensive. It's if you're going to have one kind of insurance, dental insurance is pretty cheap. At least in the U.S., right? You know. Let's see. Prior to his arrest, McVey claimed that his tracking chip was located in his buttocks, the part of his body cited in all reports that detail this belief. Not reported, however, is that after his arrest, McVey's chip seems to have moved to his teeth, ass to mouth. Randy Coyne noted that after 2 dentist visits during the first week of February 1996, McVey joked to Coyne, the dentist implanted a microchip in his tooth, and the government was now listening to everything I say. He repeated this claim about a week later, as noted by Jones team attorney Rob Nye on February 5th, 1996. He wrote, Tim told me he recently received dental work and is confident our conversations are being monitored via a transmitter installed in his tooth. He wanted me to make sure and indicate in memorandum that he was kidding about the transmitter. I, on the other hand, am not so sure. I think there may, in fact, be a transmitter.
But how does it move?
Oh, the dentist put a new one in. He didn't move it. He didn't go ass to mouth. That's just a different transmitter.
Right. Oh, okay. Yeah. Okay. So.
Or like the butt one was a tracker.
It's not so, but like so we're. It's not that his story changes. It's that like theoretically his implant does move here. So we're like thoroughly on Timothy's side here. Where we're like, yeah, that implant was real.
No. The claim was that the butt one was a tracker, right?
Okay.
The mouth one is a listening device.
Interesting. Okay. Yeah. Okay. I'm with you now. I'm with you.
Yeah. McVey became enraged when, after his conviction, he saw a 2000 article by investigative journalist and Jones' team ally J.D. Cash, who had written extensively about the bombing while moonlighting as a defense investigator. Kind of seems like a conflict of interest, doesn't it?
Yeah.
Cash wrote that the Jones team perceived McVey's paranoia early on and had serious concerns about his mental health, specifically in regards to the chip. While he insisted to them he had not been brainwashed, said Cash, McVey claimed that the government had been able to track him all over the country because of a homing device they had implanted in his buttock while in the army. It allowed agents to follow him with their satellites, thus to avoid surveillance. McVey said he often lived in caves, especially caves located in deserts around Kingman, Arizona.
Damn.
Based cave dweller. No one can see your ass if you're in a cave.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't know. I mean, what do you do?
Where is Kingman? Like this, sometimes Timothy says things that sound dangerously similar to me. Where is Kingman? I bet it's.
I almost want to do Library of Mass Destruction live in Kingman, Arizona.
Yeah, we're here live from Kingman, Arizona.
Yeah. Live from Kingman, Arizona. It's the Library of Mass Destruction.
I mean, there's 32,000 people there. It's not tiny.
I mean, yeah, but you're just broadcasting. That's all.
Right. I was expecting it to be like a general store.
Hey, man, they got the Arizona Route 66 Museum.
Yeah, I was gonna say, like, yeah, this is a place where, yeah, actually, it's the Arizona Route 60, the Great Highway. I'm even more interested now.
I'm even gonna, you know what I'm gonna do? I'm gonna see how much houses cost in Kingman, Arizona. 3-bed, 2-bath house, 1,500 square feet for $265,000. Pretty fucking affordable. Probably in the shit area of town, right?
You want to go live?
Maybe Kingman is all the shit area of town. How much do the caves cost? That's what we care about.
All of their pictures are style. They're either like that, like really generic downtown like style. No, this is pretty lynch pilled. Like you could definitely go here and live out your David Lynch fantasy. Well, I don't know. Actually, that picture was from about 20 years ago. It's not looking so good now.
I mean, it kind of just looks like a bunch of suburb stuff. It's like 30 minutes outside of Vegas. So
yeah,
it's like really just not that. It's like a suburb of Vegas.
Yeah.
So
with several surrounding caves.
With some caves. I mean, it's the American West, so you probably can't even actually own the cave.
That's true, right? Yeah.
Like over a certain elevation, and like all of the like public land is, I mean, actually public, right?
Yeah.
So I don't know. Seems kind of lame. I don't want a cave unless I can own it. I would like to own a cave, but
owning a cave, you gotta, again, Arkansas is a great place to own a cave.
A man's cave is his castle,
right? It's my my man cave.
Literal man cave. It's the whole house. Yeah, it's the man. You can move into a 1-bedroom trailer in Kingman, Arizona for $69,000.
Pretty impressive.
Mm-hmm.
You know, like you'd have to have the right e-girl.
Plenty of room to cook meth.
You'd have to have the right e-girl to make this work.
You would. This literally has an old oil barrel that has been recreated as a stove.
See, I'm looking at their pictures where they're putting their best foot forward.
Yeah. You're actually looking at feet pics. Literal feet pics. Yeah. Anyway. All right, where are we? McVey wrote to his biographers about the article and told them Jones was responsible for leaking the fact of their concern over his mental state, denied that he ever lived in caves, insisted he did not have an obsession with Patrick Henry, as the article claims, only a fascination, nothing delusional. He downplayed his earlier implant claims, attempted to assure them that he never once honestly believed he had a tracking chip. Further, he insisted he had not been brainwashed or manipulated, and that any paranoia he had about prison doctors was reasonable.
All of those things could be true, but only some of them are. Interesting.
What do you mean?
Well, I mean, like, obviously, like, McVey's concerns are real, but the brain chip claim is strange. You know, this is all. It's all very gray.
There's no brain chip.
Right. Yeah. But the chipping, the tracking, these are suspect things. Okay. So there's like reasons. Like, okay, I'm sort of amazed at sort of the instant, like, this guy gets taken into custody. This is like instantly becomes a vastly complex case. Like, you know, it's like you think it's like, okay, yeah, whatever. Crazy guy said something. And mind you, I don't know just a shitload about Timothy McVey. So this is like, I know a lot about MK Ultra. I don't know a lot about Timothy McVey.
Yeah, you haven't actually listened to all the episodes of, of
right,
LMD.
Right. So I'm like, I'm trying to catch up on Timothy McVey shit as we go along here. But this case seems to have just immediately just complexified drastically. Like, it just expands like it's like
that's right.
Small town case, and then the feds show up and it turns into a rodeo all at once. Is what this looks like is going on.
Absolutely true.
Okay.
Also, Vulpes neurotwink. That's so true.
Oh my god.
They're making the femboys using Neuralink. It's Elon. Sorry.
It is. It totally is, though.
It totally is. In the Army, I had a rapport with the medical platoon. I had a friend or two in there, though through personal curiosity buttressed by my own survivalist training. I'd ask questions and was always inquisitive about medical procedures. Right before the Gulf War, we got a booster shot right in the ass. It was to boost our immune systems, our globulins. It was a big shot, 5 cc's as opposed to the normal 4 cc's. There were people who couldn't sit down for a whole day. Some of them passed out later in the morning in physical training exercise. It was a big ass shot. I'll give credit where the credit is due. I believe Sheffield Anderson, the guy who was always starting rumors in the company, such as Congress didn't pass the budget, we're not going to get paid this month. He'd get people all upset. I think he was the one who started the rumor about the computer microchip they put in your butt. People from my generation can make that joke because we know that computer chips are used not in troops, but in experiments with pets. I think one community in California wanted to put them in children. Me and Anderson, part of Generation X, we felt free to joke about it, the computer chip. One day we were sitting around James Nichols' kitchen table in his farmhouse, and I told somebody as a joke that I had a computer butt chip put in me in the Gulf War. Whoever was at that table that day didn't know me well enough to know I was joking, and has spread the rumor ever since my arrest. It was a joke to start with. I knew from my medical training that it wasn't true. I was the principal in the bombing. I used Terry Nichols and anybody else that was involved. There was no secret person manipulating me behind the scenes. I'm friggin' old enough to know when somebody is using me. I'm not a brainless individual. In fact, I'm very world weary, you might say. More so than what would meet the eye in my country boy appearance. The Army did that to me. My aversion to prison doctors was based on my privacy concerns. I didn't want prison officials to take a picture of my penis and write the life and times of Tim McVey in prison. Was this delusional or realist? I don't know. It's a pretty reasonable.
But it's like one of those things where like you're just like imagine. You have to imagine like the mid '90s context, you know, like and like fill in like all. It's like, yeah, we're like, but again, it's like I said, we're so comfortable with a certain level of, say, conspiracy, terrorism, like surveillance, everything like that. These concerns is like, well, it's like, you know, whatever. Of course, those are things to be reasonably concerned about. Most of these people, like, I don't like know, like this would all sound so foreign to them. Like they would just like nod along with it. It's like, you know, nod along or react virulently in like alternate measure. You know, it's like they're just not ready for. They don't have no idea what they've been caught up in. Everyone here is a test subject. You know.
Do you think that society is more primed for conspiracy theories now or in the 90s?
Now, way more so now than maybe ever before. But I will say that the early 90s and the late 1970s are both like also peaks. You know,
So
but
we're just at the all-time high right now.
yeah,
But those were
we're absolutely, because there's no like right now there's no like sort of referential or normative narrative that anyone trusts, which means like everything has the aspect of a conspiracy theory.
right. And even the, I mean, so the left currently, I mean, there are people who, I mean, let's just talk about like base level stuff, right? Um, in the most recent election, where Donald Trump defeated Kamala Harris,
at the ballot box,
which is generally acknowledged to have occurred.
yeah,
Okay. There are people who point out, hey, why did 20 million people fewer vote for Kamala than for Joe Biden
yeah,
in 2020? Why did that occur? And on the right side, people say, well, that's because the 2020 election had some irregularities. And on the left side, they say, well, that's because the 2024 election had some irregularities.
right, yeah, exactly.
It's
like conspiracies crossing one another is what it is. That's what everything is.
Yeah. And
actually, part of this is history material that I know really well. So like Wendy and I are actually, we're like sort of covering not just totally dissimilar material in a way, but the crisis, like the condition that I've used in a lot of my work to characterize modernity itself, is the state of crisis. And the like conspiratorial thinking, like with the sort of grand orchestrated other, is like component 4 out of 5 of the crisis situation, like according to the like German conceptual like historians. So like it's a function of acceleration that conspiratorial thinking increases as everything else does, because it's certain. And now I sound like a leftist, but it's the working theory.
I would like to point out something, and thank you, FBI informant, with the elite theory, third positional. The reason is that there were irregularities in both, and the regime wanted Trump.
Yeah.
Also now confirmed, FBI informant is AA's alt.
Yeah.
So, thanks for joining us, Nima.
Did you see he retweeted me today? That's the first time that's ever happened. He really doesn't like me.
You'll be blocked tomorrow. Yeah. What did he retweet?
It was something about Bob Dylan. He never blocks me, but he won't follow me back. Like it's like no circumstance. He has like he's like this like he just normally doesn't acknowledge my existence. So he must have been like, that was a fucking banger. But he likes Bob. He likes Bob Dylan a lot too.
Interesting. Also at the end of Jolyon West's wife's life, Bob Dylan's former personal assistant Claire Snow became her PA.
Really?
FYI.
That's really strange.
Yeah. Isn't that weird? All right. There are a few issues with this. For one, his rapport with the medical platoon and inquisitiveness about medical procedures do not mention more than 75 known doctor and dentist visits while in the Army. Secondly, while he couched the chip in terms of a joke his generation would get, and while that is true, he made the claim to a number of other people who then reported it either to the Jones team and FBI independently of each other. One of them was Gwen Strider, who stressed that he didn't just think he had a chip, he firmly believed it. Another was Terry Nichols' brother James, who spent a lot of time with McVey and knew him well, or perhaps as well as one could. Also said McVey thought he was chipped, and another that he considered having his chip removed, but like Bugs Peter, felt it would do more harm than good. To my knowledge, the fictional Bug, although an admittedly indirect representation, is the only account, other than private ones, to locate McVey's chip in his mouth. Critical context surrounding this story is revealed through juxtaposing McVey's real-life microchip with those depicted in other stories, fictional and non. Bug, a story of brainwashing, surveillance, paranoia, control, and controllers, has roots in and unknowingly borrows from actual circumstances and events pertaining to McVey's life. Bug's depiction, in combination with previous published accounts and other archival and oral sources, demonstrates the ways in which fact, fiction, and folklore blur and the difficulty of determining which is which. In Dr. Sweet, we can see the many purported authors of McVey's hidden experimental medical narrative. Bug's Dr. Sweet acts as a stand-in for Dr. West, who himself, within conspiracy legends, acts as a stand-in for his other faceless, unidentified mind controller colleagues. Even his name, Dr. Sweet, is lifted from the annals of American mind control history, Dr. William Sweet being a close colleague of Dr. West, Mark, and Irvin. With seemingly paranoid conspiratorial mind control or brainwashing narratives, the recurring appearance of relentlessly cruel controllers and technologies of social control are positioned in opposition to the last bastion of human agency, one's very body, and the interior recesses of the mind. But beyond UFOs and covert hybrid private government domestic security operations, how does Calspan fit into this strange story? Sandbatch, I think you just weren't here for Calspan.
Yeah, I wasn't, but I've sort of picked up that it was some sort of research, like probably private government contracting.
It was a skunk works. It was a skunk works, and it was involved in PatCon.
Yeah, okay,
so
that makes sense.
And Timothy McVey was a security guard at a Calspan facility after quote unquote leaving the military.
Right.
Let's see here. While chatter from within conspiracy theorist realms about McVey's connections to West and microchips began within days of the bombing, it was Alex Constantine who, in 1996, first introduced Calspan to these stories. In pondering McVey's reported belief of having been chipped, Constantine noted that it was at least technically feasible that McVey was implanted with a telemetry chip and drawn into an experimental black project involving the Buffalo facility McVey guarded. Why do I ever fucking mention anything? Because Wendy always gets to it in the next goddamn paragraph.
She's like, she's a professional.
She will 100% give the context. And all I'm doing is stating it for my own satisfaction to let you, my co-host, and the audience know that I know. That's it. It's vanity. It's only vanity. Anyway,
she's got our numbers. What's going on?
That's right. Lighting NC. That wasn't Tim McVey. That was Tim McNay. Yeah, or worse yet, Tim McVey. But it's just VAY. Yeah. What another one of which I guess you may have also missed, Sandbatch, was actually one of his alleged pseudonyms. It's like it's not different enough, Tim. It's not, you gotta go further. You can't just change the spelling of your name. Yeah, we are. That is right, Sex Freakman. We are getting girl bossed right now. We gotta lock in. It is not turtly enough. It is not Tim Tuttle. Anyway, involving the Buffalo facility. Other writers, sometimes with arguably less astute research habits, quickly honed in on this possibility, and Calspan became the location where McVey was sent for indoctrination or training. And in at least one instance, Bug found its way into fiction. The story continued to proliferate over the next 2 decades, becoming self-evident to some that CIA doctors at Calspan helped manage McVey and are currently colluding with NASA to scan, classify, and database the brainwaves and thoughts of just about everyone. Some people were not so convinced. The blog of one former Calspan intern ridiculed these conspiracy theories and noted that the only doctors he ever encountered were PhD aerospace engineers, most of whom were also professors at nearby University of Buffalo. So what was all the fuss about Calspan, and what made the link between Calspan, Dr. West, and McVey's microchip seem feasible? Sandbatch, I know that in that previous paragraph, you were probably on the edge of your seat talking about scanning, classifying, and databasing the brainwaves and thoughts of just about everyone.
It's like, I mean,
the only thing you ever think about.
I do think about that a lot, don't I?
Recently, although it may be our association that's causing it.
Oh, it's true.
Yeah, I mean, nowadays, of course, we know that you don't actually need to. You don't actually need a brain chip to do that, right? You just need to listen to what everyone says all the time and feed it into a language model.
Yeah, right, but I'm like, this is like pre-language model, though they actually have at this point in time already discovered all of the necessary technology.
Yeah, they knew what neural networks were. They just didn't have the compute.
Yeah, they're missing hardware here. So like, it's sort of interesting to think about, like, first of all, what did they do? Like, what made them think they needed brainwaves? Like why was that something that entered into their data set of things to specifically collect?
What did
they like? Then the text was just, what did they collect and what did they do with it?
Okay, so theoretically, all right, just hear me out here, right? If you had a big data model for the electroencephalogram of a large number of people, right?
Yeah.
Like if people started putting on the Fitbit hat, or if I don't know, e-glasses ended up becoming a big thing, and you put the ECG tech in the little ear loops on them, you could 1000% feed that shit into a learning model. And
right, but I'm trying to think, like, what would they have done with it then? Like, what did they know that they and then what did they use it for? Like, so like, there's still like, the AI is being fertilized here. It's not necessarily birthed yet.
Oh, man. Sex freakman right here. You heard, if there's no product, you are the product. Get ready for, if there's no chip, you are the chip. That is what's actually fair. Yeah, I mean, we are. What is a society if not? Yeah, that. So, I mean, yeah. So do you? But your question is, what's the actual application?
Yeah, what did they do? Because I mean, like, the reason I say this is because it's specifically enumerated here. What did they?
She's not claiming that is particularly true. She's retelling a narrative that was sort of coalescing around this. The thing is that, like, a butt tracker to check where you were going and a thing to listen in on you are both very practical.
Yeah,
and they're practical and practicable. Right?
Yeah, exactly.
Those both make sense and are not a crazy thing. If you were going to seed some woo to make it less plausible or more science fiction-y or not clear what the value would be, then you'd say, oh yeah, they want to scan everyone's brainwaves for some reason, right? But the reality is that if people just like really got into wearables, right? If people just got really into wearables that included ECG, like they do heart monitors,
which they're going to.
You could, which yeah, they totally will. Like, obviously will, right? It's just it's maybe it doesn't happen for 10 years, maybe it doesn't happen for 5 years, maybe it happens fucking next year, who knows?
Yeah,
but
maybe it already happened.
I'm pretty sure we'd know. Like, the thing is, you'd know that there were ECGs in your devices because they'd be sold to you on that basis.
That's true.
People will do that. People will pay you to do this to them.
Yeah, it's true.
Like, people will 100% do that. So, yeah. And I mean, I don't know, maybe they're dumb enough to try to sneak it in rather than to just sell it. But I don't think so. So, yeah. Let's see, we're getting towards the end here, and I'm certain we're not going to reach another like real stopping point.
Right.
Folks, if you want to sneed any supers before the end of this week's show, we'd very much appreciate it. I'm not going to perseverate on that topic, but our boy Sandbatch sure does need to be able to buy ramen for next week.
Oh my fucking god, it's not that bad right now.
I'm just fucking.
It was that bad last week. It's not that bad now.
Okay, that's very good. But yeah, throw them in. Thank you to everyone who's already given generously.
Yeah, but y'all should still pay us.
y'all should still do it though, because my throat's getting sour. My throat is getting sour.
I don't know how you do this much reading.
What do you mean?
Like, I don't know how you read.
It's really easy.
Are you talking about me? My throat's getting so. Is that what your southern accent? Is that what that was?
My throat is getting sour. I am so decidedly fatigued.
Was it? Yo, I need a window seat because this flower is wilting.
This flower is wilting. Yeah. No, I ran out of my unsweet tea about half an hour ago, so I'm quite parched. But I mean, also, I don't know. It's not that hard to talk for 3 hours. I feel like I talk for 3 hours a lot. I don't know. Maybe it's easier when you get something to read, right? You just find a new topic in the next paragraph.
That's true.
So, yeah, exactly. The roots of the legend began in 1948 when Jolly West man, we're never going to get rid of the main character, are we? You know what I'm going to do? I'm actually going to call it there because I want to start on that. I want to start on that next time. The roots of the legend.
The roots. That's a great, like, yeah. Wendy does it. You can almost tell whenever she like gave up writing a section of it because it ends somewhat conclusively. Sometimes within other topics, you know. I've been like really paying attention to her like sort of aesthetics because like I like the way she writes and that's what I do. I'm an aesthetics freak.
Yeah, I mean you don't even need to say aesthetics. So yeah. So what do you? So what do you got going on, Sandbatch? Do you have anything to shill? What's coming out next? What are you doing?
Oh, it's actually going to be just Substack for a week or two. I mean, other than this, we'll be here. Probably just because I actually have been spending too much time making content. I actually need to scale it back.
Really?
I've been like all. No, that's I have like other. I have like.
You come on for 3 weeks and then you're like, oh, I gotta scale back.
No, like I do. I do the D spaces. Sometimes I do them 3 times a week. You know, I'm like, huh. But I have a lot that I've got to get done, and then I can talk about a lot more other shit. But other than the Substack, I actually don't really. I think I talked some about, and I've talked a little bit about it, but I don't want to go shill myself until I'm certain it's going to happen.
That's right. That's a good call. Well, everyone can catch me next Wednesday with Mike of Pull on Drive Time Movie Night. Maybe we'll make it Drive By Movie Night. I don't know that we have our film picked out just yet. Actually, I need to double check that we have a guest. I'm pretty sure we do. We have a lot of good guests coming up. We got John D. We got Dan Baltic. We got Skylos of the Oregon OGC. We got the Red Hawk himself in late May.
Yeah, it's a solid lineup.
We got a great lineup. We've been real strong with the guests. Although, you know what? Maybe we'll watch Bug and A Scanner Darkly this week. If Mike hasn't lined anyone up, you can come on and do that.
Yeah. I'm definitely down for a scan. Yeah. We watch both. Yeah.
All right. Well, you don't have to. You don't have to.
Scanner Darkly, and I mean, I'm probably down for the other one too, but Scanner Darkly, I'm 100% down for, especially because you've never seen it. I'm like, okay, yeah, let's do this.
Well, that's the rule, right?
And actually, we've actually been talking about this a little bit on Twitter today. Like the idea of like the perfect, like sort of like story where the city becomes a character. And Scanner Darkly actually is one of these in a really oblong way. Like the setting is Austin, Texas, and like sometime what would have been in 2007, like the near future. So like, and it's really sort of interesting the way the whole Central Texas sort of thing is presented. So it's a very interesting thing, as well as being the like techno druggist like Philip K. Dick shit. So it's incredible. It's one of the best. Richard Linklater made it, and I actually hate Richard Linklater. Okay, hate him.
Really?
Yes, and I love this movie. It's like the thing he made that I like. Yeah.
Well, shit. All right. Well, I mean, maybe we'll do that. If not, we will definitely do it in a future date.
Yeah, future.
I'll save my future double feature for sure. I will definitely save my my Philip K. Dick cherry just for you.
Have you ever seen any of the movies?
Yeah. I've definitely wait, hold on. What?
Well, Blade Runner's one of them.
They haven't really, it is, and I mean, but they haven't really made a whole lot of Philip K. Dick movies.
Yeah, that's true. There's like
a lot of really fucking weird Philip K. Dick books that would be absolutely insane adaptation. Like David Lynch could have done the Valis trilogy. That would have been amazing. But R.I.P. You killed him. So, in any case, all right, that'll be it for this evening. Thanks everyone for joining us. And we will see you next week.
We will not walk in fear one of another. We will not be driven by fear into an age of unreason if we dig deep in our history and our doctrine, and remember that we are not descended from fearful men, not from men who feared to write, to associate, to speak, and to defend the causes that were for the moment unpopular. We must not confuse dissent with disloyalty. Good night.